Hello and welcome to NXTGEN Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another jaw-dropping round of absolutely jubilant and intense racing action in the NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship Season 10 as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. That's right, another 2 weeks have absolutely flown us by and we have made our way today to the Californian state of the US of A to continue our American triple header. Indeed, we've made our way all the way to the West Coast and we're here for the one and only Monaco equivalent in the US of A, is of course the Long Beach Street Circuit. Originally aimed at bringing Monaco to the United States, albeit with a slightly different approach to the racing, offering overtaking opportunities as well as the splendour, it is a circuit that has definitely withstood the test of time, and it's no wonder why. At 1.96 miles in length, it's one of those circuits that's relatively short, but when it's short length, it packs an absolutely brilliant punch of a layout. 11 corners, including hairpins, sweepers, and also a tantalising twisty fountain section, plus also 2 very long straights. It means that overtakings are highly possible here, plus also corner ability will be put to the test, and there's always the looming threat of a barrier or two just around the circuit side. For our drivers, then they're going to need to find a balance. They'll need to push hard, no doubt about that, but push too hard and they'll find themselves brushing with the barriers. Push not hard enough and they'll find themselves vulnerable to overtakes, and they've got to get it absolutely perfectly right and find that Goldilocks zone, whether it be on the brakes or on the straights. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in today on the one of only 3 media platforms available for your viewing pleasure to catch up with this broadcast. And firstly, of course, we do have the 2 official NXTGEN Racing media channels where you can catch all the racing action. One of which is on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and search for NXTGEN Racing, and you can be tuning in there. Alternatively, if you're a Facebook user, such as Robert Pitters, who we say hello to there in the Facebook group, where you can catch all the racing action from the NXTGEN Racing official Facebook group, go to facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing, and you can be catching all the racing action there. Alternatively, if you are more of a Twitch inclined user, you have the unofficial broadcast available on Twitch at twitch.tv/Paul's Productions. And hello to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. But either place you tune into this broadcast from, whether it be YouTube, Facebook or Twitch, in the comment if you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh, and I shall be bringing you all your racing action as it unfolds over the entirety of today. Speaking of our schedule for today, times in British Summer Time, that's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1, UTC +1, as we can see in approximately 18 minutes time, we'll be making our way all the way to the grid for qualifying, and it will be 15 minutes in duration, as per usual, all drives out of the circuit, and it's going to be a very crowded circuit when you do consider the fact that we have had a grand total so far at least of 32 drivers making the trip all the way to the west coast of the US of A. We could see a few more arrive before time is called and we go into that qualifying session, after which we'll make our way onto the grid for our first race of the day. That'll be the 15-lap race at 8:20, after which we'll then take a brief review before returning for another 15-lap race at what will be 9:10. Then we take another breather after race number 2 and another 15 laps of racing will await us in race number 3, due to get underway at approximately 10 o'clock this evening, albeit do keep in mind, of course, we do have our reverse grid draw before we go to the grid for race number 3, and that always leads to a little bit of extra excitement, albeit already we have plenty of excitement to enjoy because, of course, this is the NXTCC, this is touring cars at their finest on an international scale, and we look forward to seeing who exactly is going to get it right here on the streets of Long Beach. But without further ado, as we head into this round, as always, we need to bring you up to speed with the story so far after 6 rounds of racing, so let's get to it and give you a reminder of what happened exactly last time out. And as we can see, recapping our calendar so far, last out on the 7th of April, we opened up our triple header in the US of A. It's not the first time we've been to the country, however. Many of you remember, of course, in round number 3, we made our way to Portland International Raceway, and it made its debut on the NXTCC calendar. That was back on the 10th of February. It's crazy to think how the time has flown us by, but indeed, now we made our way back to the US of A, and on the 7th of April, we were in the US state of New York, all the way towards the East Coast, the Watkins Glen International Cup Circuit. But what exactly did we get to see there? Well, we had 3 races that were absolutely lightning in terms of the battling action. There was no doubt about it. It was thicker fighting from start to finish at a circuit that's been a staple of the NXTCC calendar for several seasons. But overall, what we got to see was, in the end, some brilliant battles up front, but there was one name that really took on the test of every single situation, and it was Luciano Witvoet taking the victory in race number 1 after taking pole position, and then in race number 2 taking the runner-up spot behind his teammate of Wojciech Swirydowicz, and in race number 3, well, we got to see him make his way all the way up to to 4th place after the reverse grid was drawn to be 18th place, and George Stone was the man who took the pole position there, and goodness me, was he under pressure from the pros around him. But it wasn't just about Luciano Witvoet, with Wojciech Swirydowicz also putting in a very impressive stint across all 3 races, albeit you wouldn't believe it when you saw what happened in qualifying. And the reason why qualifying was such a stumbling block for Swirydowicz, as it was for so many drivers in fact, was the fact that the rain started to fall going into qualifying, and it meant that slicks were only optimal for the first 4 to 5 minutes. Another driver who struggled in qualifying was Lewis Mason, who seemed to be absolutely set for a golden pole position in the AM class, only to find a bit of an altercation between himself and one of his fellow full tilt virtual motorsport teammates meant that his lap was completely spoiled, and therefore he had to then qualify on the wet tyre and see himself qualify much further back. But that qualifying session saw the rain arrive, and when it did, lap times were not going to improve very quickly, and suddenly it meant that for a lot of drivers, we saw a major shuffling of the field. And in race number 1 as a whole, we had some early incidents on the open lap and lap number 3. And on lap number 3, the incident there brought out the virtual safety car for 2 laps. But otherwise, the racing was absolutely brilliant from start to finish as our drivers battled each other in wet conditions. And it was Luciano Witvoet who took the win in race number 1. Overall, Michael Lease took the prime win after taking pole position in the class and never looked back as he bolted away from Nick Clemens. And keep in mind that Michael Lease absolutely now qualifying to take 3rd on the overall grid going into race number 1. And what we got to see in the AM class was Nigel Stock with an absolutely dominant pole position in the class. He nailed it in the relatively dry conditions at the start of qualifying. He took pole by almost 6/10 over Fraser Austin's and was able to gradually pull away over the remainder of the race distance and make sure that he didn't have any pressure to take that AM win, and he gave up plenty of places to pros and primes to make sure he was guaranteed that class win. In race number 2 at Watkins Glen, well, we got to see the circuit practically dry up, although there were a couple of puddles on the insider corners, particularly through the S10 sequence to turns 2 and 4, and in a much drier race where the slicks came out, with Wojciech Swirydowicz with a lighter car, a significantly lighter car. He had no weight in the car compared to his teammate Witvoet, who was able to come storming through the field and take the win. Indeed, on the final lap, having to make a critical move for the bus stop chicane in order to make sure it was a 1-2, but in his favour. In the Pro-Am class, there was a huge shunt for Michael Lease on the opening couple laps, and what it meant was Nick Clemens was allowed to take the win, albeit Clemens was not involved in that instant. He was able to avoid it, and he was able to secure the victory, even if Jack Pitters chased him down quite aggressively all the way to the finish. And also we did get to see Craig Twardock also get involved, and Twardock and Pitters started to focus battling on the 2nd place instead. And in the AM class, Lewis Mason, he came through from the back of the field to finish 5th place in class in race number 1, and then he made it all happen again in race number 2 to take his victory in the 2nd race of the day, at least in the class. And in race number 3 of our top 18 reverse grid, it was the first AM overall pole position of the season. It went to George Stone, and for Lewis Mason, he set himself about bringing that gap down, and Mason was able to take the win in the end, passing George Stone on lap number 7 and never looking back. In the Pro-Am class, Matthew Sheraton, he delivered a monster drive on the circuit to make his way all the way forward after recovering from 36th to 12th in race number 2, and well, he was rewarded for it and put together a very strong win, although he had to fight very hard with Ben Altrier for 3rd place overall. He yielded to it in the final few laps and made sure that in the end he would let the overall places go to secure that prime win, at least on circuit, but the win was taken away from him as a result of post-race stewarding decisions. Indeed, a lot of points taken away from several drivers, Sheraton being one of them, and meanwhile in the overall category, Andrew Pike took his first win in almost 2 seasons, a very emotional win for him, and his mum and dad were watching as well, and well, we got to see him take that win in the end, working with Jamie Dory at the start of the race to try and bolt away from the rest of the grid, and then as things calmed down with the rest of the grid behind them, they were able to focus on fighting, and it was Pike who just managed his tyre better towards the very end of the race that made the difference as the Honda driver, the Sim Racing Collector, was able to take that win in race number 3. But indeed, what a summary we've had there for what was of round number 6, and now we head into round number 7. It is the 21st of April, and here we are at the Long Beach Street Circuit. It's Grand Prix layout, it's one and only layout, and we get ready to take it on. Next time out, we'll complete our American triple header, and on the 5th of May, we will be at the Sonoma Raceway, making our way northwards from Long Beach. We'll stay in the state of California, making our way from Central California to Northern California for the circuit that's not too far away from Sears Point, and also from the city of San Francisco. But without further ado, let's take a look at the standings coming into this round, and we begin then with the overall Drivers' Championship standings. Just take a look at the top 20, and as we can see, Luciano Witvoet leads the way, and again, taking the lion's share of the points last time out. But sadly, we do have a bit of upsetting news here regarding Luciano Witvoet, and well, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we are not going to see him on the grid for this round, nor for the remainder of the season. It's due to personal circumstances. We're not going to go into it. We respect his privacy, although we have been informed at the NXTGEN Racing Administration as to the circumstances, and all we can say is it is a huge loss to this grid that we will not get to see Witvoet all the way through to the end of the season, because he was building up such a strong campaign and indeed open up a gap there to the tune of the best part of 39 points over a two-time champion, Wojciech Swirydowicz. Remember, Witvoet's yet to take a crown, but he's come close on several occasions, and well, that crown is going to have to wait. But we do wish Luciano well, and we look forward to the day he does return to the grid, because it will not feel the same without him. But what it will mean is that suddenly a void will open up at the very top, and Wojciech Swirydowicz should be the natural fit to jump into it today, because he does have an absolutely staggering 129 point advantage over Isaac Doble, and then we do see a first 16 points back to Gavin Gardner. Gavin Gardner there a bit further back at the moment, chasing down Doble as best he possibly can, and then Jamie Doria only a further point adrift. And I did catch up with both of the drivers in the build-up to today, and they were joking around on the fact that right now the rivalry is on between them just as much as it is going to be teamwork between them for Next Gen Pink in the team's championship, given the fact it's literally 1 point separating the pair. And Gavin Gardner, to be fair to him, has had a really good run of form this season. Ever since Monza, he's really come alive, and Jamie Doria, meanwhile, has had some elements of highs, particularly at Fuji in round number 2, and also, to be fair, at Bathurst, but Doria's still got a bit of work to do if he wants to get the upper hand on Gardner. Andrew Pike, with that win in race number 3 at Watkins Glen, has moved up to 6th ahead of Ben Altria, and then we do see Logan McKenzie, Joseph Doble, and Wayne Douglas completing your top 10, with Douglas behind Doble based on result countback with 10 penalty points also to his name. Then coming outside the top 10 in 11th place is a further 7 points back to Matthew Cheverton, ahead of Joe Coffin by a single point, and we can see Craig Todd there with 10 points deducted due to post-race penalties, where he's dropped to 13th place. He's only ahead of Kieran Smart based on result countback, with Ben Beddyworth in 15th ahead of Michael Lees, and then Stuart Winnes ahead of Nick Lewins, Sam Exton and Lee Horn complete your overall top 20. But meanwhile, in the Pro-Am class, here we can see Matthew Cheverton leads, and this has really been turned up and down. Now, one of the big reasons why this Pro-Am Championship really is so condensed and compact at the top is because, in theory, if we took the points on the finishing position straight away from the racing at Watkins Glen, you would have seen Craig Tardock open up his lead, and it would be quite a sizable advantage. However, there were a lot of stewarding decisions following Watkins Glen, and what it has done, it has completely shuffled the top 5 of the Pro-Am standings. Cheverton is leading, but his win in race number 3 has been taken away from him, so therefore he's only taken 17 points from Watkins Glen, and suddenly Sam Exton is only 3 points behind. And conversely, Exton has been Mr. Consistent so far this season, and last time out it was 2 5th places and a 9th place. It's been his theme of the season. Could he be winning this based on consistency? He's yet to really take a major haul of points, but perhaps right now that's not the key. The key just simply is stay out of trouble and you'll see victory. Ben Beddyworth is only a further 4 points behind there, and 4 ahead of Joe Coffin. And then we do see in 5th place Craig Tardock with the deduction of 10 points, hurt him considerably when he would otherwise be on 176. Stuart Winnes sits in at 6th place there, a further, what is 9 points behind, ahead of Nick Clemens by 7, and then Kieran Smart coming alive for Track Scotland, much like his teammate of Winnes, and then we do see Benjamin Gregory 4 points behind him, but well clear of Michael Lees by 9 points. But keep your eyes out for Lees, because it could have been a much happier day in the office of Watkins Glen if it were not for that major instance, of course, in race number 2. Otherwise, we thought he could have made it the triple. But outside the top 10, in 11th place, we do have 128 points there for Alan McCain, and he's ahead of Adam Wilson-Weir by 8. Never count out Wilson-Weir. He's definitely shown a lot of potential this season, and indeed that huge result at Bathurst, albeit he'll be hoping that he can perhaps emulate again once again today. Andy Fox wasn't on the grid last time out. He sits in 13th place, but ahead of Phil McDougall. It's a further 7 points between those two, but then it's equal points between McDougall and Thompson, with Kyle Thompson there behind based on result countback and also the 10-point penalty. We do see Jack Pitters. He made his debut last time out, and goodness me, what a debut it was. He put together a brilliant string of results at Watkins Glen, and with those 53 points, he's definitely already launched himself up into the top 15 almost, albeit he's only 2 points behind. Matthew Jordan sits in 17th ahead of Joshua Downing, with Reece Watt and Sam Smith completing the top 20. And outside the top 20 of the Pro-Am class, we do have Jack Brown in 21st place, a point ahead of Luke Jones and Lewis Delmont with 18 points. Well, he's definitely got his championship going forward, but he needs to get it back on track if he wants to make his way into the top 20. Then we come to the AM class, and here we can see Lewis Mason, a gap right now that stands at 17 points over Marcel Fritsch, and indeed Lewis Mason seems to be gradually carving out his own destiny and path in this championship, although he's still got a lot of work to do if he wants to try and break away from the WSL Racing esports driver. George Stone, watch out for him, it's only a further point behind, and right now you would argue if it was a bit more luck coming his way, Stone would be the championship leader, but these three are all very tightly knuckled together, and therefore it's going to be an exciting prospect coming into today. Adrian Fitch sits in 4th place there, and right now on 210 points, he's the best part of 26 ahead of Nigel Stock. And then we do have a sizable break in the gap to the best part there of what is 40 points. In fact, to be precise, 45 points to Sean Doby. And indeed, the wet weather master for the AM class. Can't quite get it right in the dry by comparison, but he's definitely got it right to be ahead of Joseph Kenneth Wright. We then do see Mark Hughes of 5 points behind ahead of Fraser Rustance and Roy Plummer. And outside your top 10 in the AM class at 102 points to the 94, we do have Michael Clough. We then do have Mark Kent sat in at 12th place there. After his return to the grid at Bathurst, and last time out, definitely had a bit of a bruise and a bump at Watkins Glen, but he's been back right into the NXTCC flow, ahead of Andy Aldhouse there, based on result countback, and it's William Kurtler and Sammy Ariba completing that top 15. Scott Malcolm sits 16th, ahead of Stephen Fry, who's had 10 points deducted quite recently, and do keep that in mind. And then we do have Mark Sykes in 18th place, ahead of Gabriel Yilmaz, and that completes your AM standings. As for the team's championship standings, here we can see Project 26 of AlphaTauri Change, they have absolutely bolted away. They have almost double the points of Next Gen Pink. However, with the absence of Luciano Witvoet, could that be an opening to give teams such as Next Gen Pink and Doble Sim Race an opportunity to close the gap? It's a big gap to close down. There's only 4 rounds remaining, so they're going to have to go some to do so. But Project 26 may just see one key part of their triumvirate fall away, and therefore now the respective pressure will be on McKinsey and Swirydowicz to try and get the job done. But Next Gen Pink, meanwhile, they know they've got pressure of Double Sim Racing, who in turn have got the Sim Racing Collective Esports trying to close the gap. And then we do have Full Tilt Virtual Motorsports completing your top 5. Team Big Lip sits in 6th place there, ahead of Track Scotland in their battle, which is only separated by a single point. And it is the best part there. 17 points back to iRacing Esports with Crest Autosport, who continue to move further up into the top 10. Next Gen Green and JW Motorsports complete your top 10. And outside the top 10, a further, what is 11 points behind, is Aztec Racing, but they're ahead of Mission R by 6 points. And then Quatermass Motorsport and Next Gen Orange are only a point behind respectively, with Quatermass ahead of Next Gen Orange based on result countback. RA Motorsports complete the top 15 ahead of CXR Project Black, with GBRC, WS Racing Esports and Next Gen Blue completing the run to 19th place. But do keep in mind that from 18th downwards, they've all got 0 points, and therefore it's based on result countback, and that's why Lewin Motorsports are in 20th place. And outside the top 20, you do have Euro Titans Endurance and ATEC Tech Racing. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, that's how the standings stand. Let's quickly talk about our host circuit for today. And it's, of course, the Long Beach Street Circuit, located in downtown Long Beach in the Los Angeles County of the US state of California. A huge thank you to iRacing.com, not just their brilliant simulator, but the absolutely fantastic track maps contained within it. And as we can see, this is one of those circuits which is absolutely brimming with corner variety, and therefore an absolutely prime circuit to go batting at, where it's the long curve straight down towards turn number 1, the long back straight between turns 8 to 9, or indeed many of the corners, but the infamous fountain sequence of turns 2 and 3. There'll be no overtaking there unless you're going to be bold, brave, and require your driver who you're battling with to show you the utmost respect and regard for racing room. So the theme will be get it right through the corners and break away on the straights. If you can't get it right on the corners, you're going to be vulnerable into the extended braking zones. But of course, we do have the turn 11 hairpin, which our drivers need to be very wary of. In the fact, through there, it's 1 wide at best, because to go 2 wide through there means that you're going to have to overextend the steering lock of a TCR car, and well, you'll find yourself very quickly understeering towards a barrier. But we'll show you that when we do ride on board with 1 or 2 of our drivers on the qualifying laps. A quick reminder of the rules then. Before we do go racing, setup-wise, this is a fixed setup series, and drivers may choose to run an option setup for in one race, subject to the following conditions. Albeit we're not going to walk you through all those, but the key theme is, if you do not meet certain conditions that prevent you from running the option setup, you do have the choice to run it in one of the races. And do keep in mind that if the weather conditions are considered to be wet and the track is declared wet, it does mean we will not see the option setup available. But we are expecting sunny skies today with a degree of cloud. We're not expecting any rain, and therefore we will see our drivers use the option setup at different points in the racing. Now, in terms of how we set the grids, well, the race 1 grid is set based on qualifying. That's a given. The race 2 grid shall be set based on results of race number 1, and the race 3 grid shall be a reverse grid based on results of race 2, and we reverse the position being from a live draw in the commentator booth between 13th and 23rd place. Indeed, we'll cut to the commentary booth. I'll break out the Next Gen Racing Lottery Bowl. We draw 2 balls, add them together, and that's exactly where we reverse the grid from. And each driver has 1 fast repair available in each race should they need to use it, and each race shall conclude after either the allotted lap amount or 30 minutes, whichever is the quickest. And well, normally it's the lap amount, which we are expecting 15 laps or approximately 20 minutes of racing in each and every race. Now, race stewarding shall be in effect. We will see an independent director stewarding the races for track limit infringements and also deployment of safety car. It will be primarily the deployment of the safety car today, because there's no real track limit infringements possible here at Long Beach, and the racing incident shall be reviewed post-round. On top of that, we do have the continued theme of success ballast being applied on a race-by-race basis to the overall Prime and AM class driver championships. And for qualifying in race number 1, that success ballast shall be applied based on the championship standings prior to the round, and we should emphasise prior to any penalties being applied to drivers. So therefore, we take the provisional points, that's what we do the success ballast on. So if a driver then gets penalised and sent down the order, they get a double whammy of success ballast, which they wouldn't be expected to take, plus also penalty points as well. So it pays not to get in trouble. For race number 2, we'll update the success ballast based on the finishing positions of race 1, and we'll rinse and repeat again for race number 3 based on the finishing positions of race number 2. And we have no drivers who are new to the series for this round, so therefore we will not be applying the newcomer success ballast to anybody. And here's a table showing you all of the values of the success ballast there, and we'll give you a couple of seconds to take a look at that. Indeed, we have the maximum of 56.1 kilograms, which will be applied, should he have been on the grid, to Luciano Witvoet. So therefore, the highest success ballast will go to Wojciech Swirydowicz on 48.2 kilograms coming into this evening, but a lot of weight being carried even by your championship leaders in the Pram and the AM classes. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's make our way back to circuit side. And as we do, we've not got long left to go before we do go into the qualifying session. And in fact, we've only got 15 seconds to go. So we're not going to quite catch a word with any of our drivers before we go qualifying. But indeed, I think the concentration levels are going to need to be at the highest possible they can, given how challenging this circuit is. And as Mark Kent makes his way out to turn number 6, well, he's going to make his way to the pit lane very shortly. Because without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to make our way into qualifying. 15 minutes, or drives out of the circuit. Who exactly is going to be able to prove that they own the streets of Long Beach over a single lap? Well, it's about time we find out. And so, ladies and gentlemen, qualifying gets underway. 15 minutes, go, go, go is the theme. And who exactly is going to get going the quickest? Well, we do see Jamie Doyle and Wojciech Swirydowicz immediately making their way down the pit lane on the limiters. It is a very long pit lane, and this is one of those pit lanes you do not want to be involved in an instant with, and therefore have to come into the pit lane, because in doing so, you are going to lose an absolutely huge amount of time. But Dory decides that Swirydowicz lead the way, and here they all go then out of the circuit, and we do have the best part of 35 drivers out there. It is going to be packed. But to be fair, we're not complaining, because it'll definitely keep things exciting and intriguing all the way to the very end. As we do see Adam Wilson-Weir making his way out. One thing we forgot to mention, and he starts this broadcast, we do apologise, is a huge shout out, of course, to our title sponsor for this season, and that is none other than Doble Motorcycles. And we'll tell you a little bit more about them later on today in this broadcast. But we're very grateful for their continued sponsorship of the NXTCC, and long may it continue. But as we do see Adam Wilson-Weir making his way around, Lee Horn there as well. And how important will qualifying be? Well, if we take Watkins Glen, our previous venue, as our equivalent comparator, well, at Watkins Glen, we got to see that qualifying position was quite critical in terms of knowing who you would be fighting with, but you'd also be trying to work with particular drivers in a pack of cars. Around here, qualifying takes a bit of a bigger emphasis in the fact that you do need to really focus on nailing that lap, because whilst overtaking is possible here, as soon as you start battling with another driver, you lose a huge amount of time. Now, we do have a black flag for Roy Plummer, who we're looking at. We believe this is for an unsafe pit exit, and therefore he will be required to come back into the pit lane and serve what will be most likely a stop and hold penalty, if not at least a drive-through. So therefore he's going to lose a lot of time in this qualifying session. That black flag will not go away until he has served it, so he will not be able to set any lap times in the interim, and that black flag, I do not believe, is going to be cleared. But coming back to the theme of how important qualifying is, it definitely will be important here today. You need to get a good lap together, because whilst you can fight, you got to be aware of the fact that it's going to be so tight around here, and there's only certain places you can really go for an overtake. There are plenty more opportunities compared to most street circuits because of the enormity of the straights, and also this circuit is for the most part quite wide compared to a typical street circuit, which normally is only at most 2 wide at most places around the lap, whereas around here you can go 3 wide if not 4 wide with cars in terms of the equipment width. There's main places you want to do so versus other places you do not want to do so. But there's Alex Meredith making his way down towards and turn number 6, the double left-hander that is comprised of turns 6 and 7. As we do see there, one of our GVRC cars stepping aside. And well, was that Mark Hughes? No, it was not, because Hughes is making his way down the start finish straight. And I do believe that may have been none other instead than Carl Thompson, who was stepping aside. Now we do say hello in the YouTube chat there to Berry Racing, who says Mr. GT World Challenge checking in. Indeed, he's competing as part of the support series, and it's wonderful Alfa Romeo GT racer there. So do keep your eyes out for Jonathan Berry as he does go racing in the coming weeks as part of the GT World Challenge support package, and that's the European Sprint Series, because of course there are multiple around the European continent, and we wish him all the best luck on that. And he's here cheering on the Type 2 drivers, of which we do have several out there, as we do to Sam Exton for Team Big Lips. And right now, definitely he's got some of the biggest lips out there, and he's shouting with them, and he's shouting very proudly when it comes to those big performances in the Pro-Am class. As he heads on around, if you are tuning in and you haven't said hi, don't be shy. Feel free to say hi in the chat, whether you're in YouTube, Facebook, alternatively Twitch, because at the end of the day, we're always very happy to have you here. And of course, you guys and girls, the fans, make the NXTCC what it is. As much of the drivers and as much of the staff, you're a big part. You are part of the free items there, which bring the NXTCC together. But as our drivers bring it all together, we look to Jack Pitters, while your Type 2 racing drivers. And as we mentioned earlier on, a very impressive debut from him at Watkins Glen, bringing on home the lion's share of the points in the Pro-Am class, and definitely sits very nicely in Pro-Am towards the upper end of the top 10 in Pro-Am, and he goes 7th there. But of course, he'll find that he comes into this round with no success ballast in the car, given his championship position, but very quickly, if he puts the points together and the performances, he'll find that weight will be loaded into the car as quick as that. And we do the success ballast by putting additional fuel into certain cars, and given these races are sprint races typically, what it does mean is having that extra fuel in the car gives you no advantage. It purely means you've got a heavier car and you have to shift the weight. But as he makes his way down towards turn at number 6, we're getting ready. We do say hello here to none other than Andrew, well, I believe that is Andre Wallen, K1Z, who says Type 2 driver here for the fun. And well, that's absolutely brilliant to see you here, and I hope you're doing well, good sir, as we do see Pitters pulling aside and letting some drivers go. But meanwhile, Kieran Smart has set the initial benchmark time at a 1 minute 25.430. That's quite a commendable lap, to be fair. But a lot of drivers are improving. As Jamie Dory crossed the line, Wojciech Swirydowicz crossed the line as well. Dory goes up to full place at 25.780. Ben Benioff slides up to third. Swirydowicz at 25.387. So all finding time out there. And remember, Swirydowicz does have the best part of 48.2 kilograms in his car. A success bus. There is the Project 26 with Alpha Touring Challenge Racer. And right now, a very heavy car, but to be fair, he is absolutely hauling it around the circuit as he rolls his way up towards what will be turn number 5 and mounting that curve very comfortably. As Andrew Pike heads on around, of course, your winner in race number 3 at Watkins Glen. And right now, number 57 driver, 7th overall at the moment on a 25.736. It is looking very tight at the very front, and in fact, we only have 700 separating your top 4. So this could be one of those qualifying sessions where it's going to come down to who finds the last little bit of time at the very end. One of those golden nugget laps, if you will, where it might need the perfect sector to put it all together. But a bit of a run wide there, and I almost stumbled over my words because I was wondering if Pike was going to go into the barrier on the exit 4. He briefly brushed it with his left-hand wind mirror as Mark Kent goes pole, a 25.342. That is 45 thousandths quicker than Wojciech Swirydowicz, and the AM driver for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, or FTVM, also known as Full Tilt Motorsport to be fair. They have multiple different names of the same team, and he makes his way on through turns 2 and 3. Well, right now, the team will be very pleased with the number 94 driver. He seems to be dialing it all together. But meanwhile, who's perhaps not getting it together? Well, Andy Fox, he wasn't on the grid last time. He's down in 26th place at the moment. I suspect he's building up some momentum here and just getting himself dialed in that Hyundai Veloster. And in terms of the cars that go well around here, well, it's a bit of an interesting circuit because there's a little bit of everything, and the Velosters do normally go quite well around the Long Beach Street circuit, particularly over race distance, less so over a single lap. We do have our one-lap kings out there, the Hyundai Elantras in particular. The Elantra N continues to prove to be a bit of a one-lap master, and meanwhile the Audis and the Hondas are somewhere in between. But as we do say hello there to Roger Pike in the Facebook chat, who says, good evening young man, myself and Angie in attendance. And indeed we say hello to you both, Roger and Angie. I hope you're both doing well. And well, Andrew Pike, of course, out there right now trying to do his best for you, the Sim Racing Collective team, and indeed all his fans out there, as he's currently in 9th place. But we can see there Rob Pitters cheering on at Jack Pitters. And well, as Jack continues to make his way on around, good to see his family support him as usual, and I hope you're doing well, Rob. And well, as these drivers continue onwards, we owe you an on-board lap, ladies and gentlemen. Who exactly will we get it with today? Well, I think the game plan is going to be to go to one of our stalwarts to the grid. We're going to go to Phil McDougall as he takes us around for a flying lap of the Long Beach Street circuit. As he makes his way down the start for the straight is Honda Civic Type R FK8, and as he does so, getting ready to cross the timing line. There he goes. He's now on to a lap. Now powering his way on down. He's currently a second off the overall pole time, but he may be able to find a bit more time. Down the curve stretch and in towards turn number 1. A 90-degree left-hander looks to his right-hand side with his brake marker, and he'll brake there around the 300-yard board, coming all the way down to the second gear, flying through the corner, and now rolls it through into the fountain. Here it's onto the brake, straight line, come through the right-hander, and then into left-hand king of turn number 3, and immediately over to left-hand side to open up turn number 4. Dab the brakes, hold second gear, and make sure you don't hit that curve too hard to understeer wide. And now in towards turn number 5. You need to mount the curve on the inside, and well, that gives you the optimum line, but it's also the most risky line next step can unsettle the car, but not so for McDougall as he now makes his way in towards turn number 6. Onto the brakes then, braking at the 300-yard board, going through the left-hand entry point, and then the second left-hander at turn number 7 completes the corner, and now down in towards turn number 8, braking as he snaps the car over towards the outside wall, and take as late as possible an apex as he can, as he just brushes the exit wall there, and powering his way down towards turn number 9. But as he heads on down right now, keeping his head down as much as possible here, and into 5th gear, won't get near 6th today, onto the brakes of the 400-yard board, a long braking zone here into turn number 9, and now go through the right in towards the left, car trying to step aside there, and well, that's why the full tilt virtual motorsport cars just making sure to get out of the way in time. I think it was Ben Gregory, and onto the brakes into the hairpin he goes, the tightest corner in the US of A, and Phil McDougall absolutely nails it in 1st gear, and now roars his way up towards the timeline. What's this going to be? He's improved in the first sector, he's improved in the middle sector, his final sector's not been as strong, but he might be able to move up the order, and the answer is going to be it's 19th there for McDougall, a 26.180. And it puts him back within a second of the overall pole time that Mark King continues to own. But Jack Pittis, meanwhile, 1.5 tenths behind. And, well, his dad, Robert, is cheering him on. I'm very proud to see him race. And right now, I can tell you one thing, Pittis is absolutely doing a brilliant job there for Type 2 racing. And we'll keep in mind, he's got no ballast in the car at the moment, so he has got a very light car compared to some of his Elantra rivals. But still, the fact that he's able to do this, and it is a very competitive field. Remember, you are seeing him race alongside drivers who have been on this grid since Season 1. All the best part there, if my mental maths is correct, I want to say 4 years ago when we started this series. And well, you've got the likes there of Mark Kent, who's been around since the start. You've also got Gavin Gardner, the runner-up in Season 1, of course. And I can tell you one thing, this Audi RS3 Gen 2 car, Gardner and this Audi are absolutely in sync. We have not seen him this happy in a long time, and I don't mean it in a derogatory manner, I mean this seriously. I'm really happy for Gavin, because the last couple of seasons he's really found himself lost in the fact that he's been on the grid racing for NXTGEN Pink, but he's really just not been clicking together. It doesn't matter what car he's been in, it's not been working out. He's typically been in the Audi RS3 Gen 1, but it seems like this Gen 2 car has just completely revitalised his approach to the TCR. I do believe also the adjustments to the physics engine and the tyre model for these cars has made a huge difference as well to many of our drivers. They've really fallen back in love with the cars again, and well, I've heard from several drivers saying these cars really do feel like the modern day TCR UK cars, which they are based on. They are based on the TCR World Series, which TCR UK is a derivative, it is a feeder series into the TCR World Series. It is the national UK version. And right now, Gavin Gardner looking very quick out there. Weaves side to side a little bit, I think just warming himself up a bit more. He's getting ready to go for one big gasp. What he's trying to see if he can take that pole position, at least get to the front row. As we do see there, one of the NXTGEN Pink cars step aside. Meanwhile, as we do see L6, our Project Black car, carry on its journey. Well, are there any other surprises out there? Well, Nigel Stock, and currently second fastest of the AMs, and by a considerable margin over the rest of the AM field. This AM field is really aggressively split today, and well, third fastest is Lewis Mason. Now, Mason does have 25 kilograms of success ballast in that car, which will be hurting him as he cools on down. Adrian Fritsch is not too far behind, nor is George Stone, nor is Marcel Fritsch or Mark Hughes. It is once again a very tight spread in AM, if you exclude the outliers at the very top, as we do look to the GBRC Audi RS3 Gen 2 of Hughes, and well, the Civic Cup racer in real life, racing of course in a privateer FN2 car. And a very quick driver at that. I've had the pleasure of watching him race in person, and even commentating a little bit of his racing in real life. And tell you one thing, he definitely looks absolutely settled in a Honda Civic FN2. He's quite settled right now in his Audi. And this has been a real great season for him so far. Yes, he's had a few lows this season, but compared to season 9, he really has established himself as a regular top 5, if not top 10 contender in the AM class. And with a bit more fortune, I think he would be in the top 5 of the championship at the moment. But still, he's got to make his own luck. And here today, he's definitely pushing hard to do so. As meanwhile, we do look further down, and Alan McCain, well, this is not looking good at all. We have 37 drivers here, so a few more did turn up in the build-up to going to qualifying. And McCain down in 18th from Pro-Am, but 35th overall. This is not where you want to be whatsoever. And given the fact that from him to pole, it's 1.8 seconds, it's not that he's a huge way off. It will feel a huge way, 1.8 seconds. But if he found a 10th right now, that would launch him all the way up to what would be 33rd ahead of Carl Thompson. You imagine he found a couple of attempts out there, he would suddenly absolutely leap his way up the order as Michael Lees improves, but doesn't improve too much, up to 17th. And what we see there, the all-black machine for JW Motorsport, a different livery on this car, number 55. It's in stealth mode, and he makes his way on through in his Audi. Right now, Lees 9, there's more work to be done. He is currently the 7th fastest in the Prime class, but something tells me right now this is not where he wants to be. Speaking of places we want to be on board with a driver who goes on to another lap. And here comes your Pro-Am driver, second in Pro-Am at the moment, of Kieran Smart. But he takes us around for a flyer, heading down towards turn number 1. So he does so, improves to 3rd place, but knows there's even more time as the Track Scotland driver sets a 25.353. Can he get within a 10th for the pole sitter? Into the braking zone he goes. So turn 1 in his Hyundai Elantra, charging his way through the corner. Very aggressive approach there to the apex as well. Perhaps that's the difference. You've got to be more aggressive through the fountain now. And in front of him is the iRacing Esports with Crest Autosport car. That is the number 013, and that will be Nick Clibbins there, where he's a big fan of the number 13. He seems to find it lucky, but right now Kieran Smart's not lucky to be this close to him. He'll pick up a toe on the straights, but the problem is if he gets too close, he's going to back out this lap. Making his way out to turn number 5 and down towards 6 here, onto the brakes. Braking there about 250 yards from corner apex, really attacking. Turns in very early there in order to offset the dirty air cover at the back of the car in the front, and therefore the extra understeer he'll experience, and will just miss the barrier as he comes down in towards the right-hander, a turn at number 8, and now be flat out all the way down the back straight. But I get the feeling he's lost a little bit of time as a result of the line he took through turns 6 and 7. And well, Clibbin steps aside, but right now Kieran Smart, I don't think you're going to see this lap improve too much. He comes in through, and in fact he goes straight on there. He goes to the runoff area, and for Kieran Smart, that is going to be the end of his qualifying session. He won't get another lap together. He's decided to abort, given the fact that lap was not improving, and well, next time around he's going to find even more traffic. And Gavin Gardner has improved, but Wojciech Swirydowicz now improves. He is a 10th quicker, a 25.042. Picked up a distant toe there off of the AM Type 2 racing car in front of him, and I believe that may have been the car of none other and then George Stone right in front. And Stone right now, well, he won't realise it, but he's perhaps helped Swirydowicz to take pole position with that draft down the start for this straight. And Swirydowicz sneaking his way on top. And well, half a second between Gardner and Kent right now. Can Mark Kent somehow find a way to get back onto the front row and put an AM on the front row for the first time in what I believe is series history here in the NXTCC, to see an AM start on the front row in race 1 after qualifying? We've had Pro-Ams do it, we've had Pro-Ams take pole positions, but never an AM driver has started on the front row of a race 1 grid, if my memory serves me correctly. And right now Mark Kent is not too far away from finding out whether he can make history, although at the moment with Gavin Gardner improving, and Gardner is flying out there as he makes out the final corner. Could Gardner strike back here? He's had a purple middle sector. Here he goes towards the line. He's had a very good first sector as well, personal best. Can he steal this away from Swirydowicz? He's taking a straight approach. He crossed the line. Checker flag is out, and the answer is going to be no. It's not an improvement. Gardner had a poor hairpin, and it does not seem to move up the order. So Mark Kent heads towards the line here, and I don't think Kent's improving unless he's had an absolute mammoth final sector, but I don't think that's possible at the moment. And the lap times confirm as he sets a 26.1 that time, so he's not going anywhere fast. And as a result, will stay in 3rd place. Kieran Smart will be your prime pole sitter by looks things in 4th head of Jack Pitters, albeit barely any time between them. Ben Bennyworth comes around, but he's still got some drives improving. Adam Wilson-Weir is out there at the moment. He's currently in 6th in Pro-Am, 12th overall. He crossed the timeline with a double draft there, but that does not help him enough. And in the end, he brings his qualifying session to a halt. Joe Coffin for Team Big Lips improves to 17th on a 1 minute 25.845. That's an impressive lap to wrap up proceedings for him. What about Sam Exton, the other Team Big Lips driver? 2nd place in the Pro-Am Championship. He crossed the line. He was 21st, and he is going to stay 21st as Ben Bennyworth in the Quatermass Motorsport car in his Audi improves to a 25.415. That puts him into 3rd in Pro-Am, 7th overall. Great effort there from Ben, and he'll be pleased with that. The team will be absolutely proud of him. I can imagine they'll be jumping up and down the pit wall knowing he's going to be starting well inside the top 10, and this has been his best qualifying performance in a long time. In fact, I think it may be his best ever qualifying performance for an overall starting position going into race number 1. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, as our drivers do cool them down, well, Lee Horn at 13th. Not a bad performance, to be fair, but look at the spread of drivers. In fact, you have a 10th from pole to 2nd, and then you have half a 10th from 2nd to 3rd. Then it's 1.5 tenths to 4th. But after that, Kieran Smart, he's in 4th place there, and we're going all the way down to 27th. It's not even a second. That is how close it has been here today at Long Beach. And as our drivers all cooling down and qualifying is completed, well, I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, if that's close in qualifying, how close is it going to be when we go green flag racing? Well, I'm sure you can answer that question as much as we can. It is going to be exceptionally close as we get ready to go to the grid. In fact, our drivers are making their way onto the grid now, and this is how they'll line up for the first race of the day in round number 7 of Season 10 of the Next Gen Touring Car Championship, brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles. And as we can see, Wojciech Swirydowicz taking pole position for Project 26 for Alpha Touring Challenge, ahead of Gavin Garner for Next Gen Pink. The gap between the two of them, a 10th, nothing more than that. And then we can see starting in third, Mark Kent, your pole sitter, and the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport driver absolutely delivering there. And I'm hearing down the paddock a few drivers did miss their tyre window, including Ben Altrier mentioned that, so we'll talk a little bit more about where he is very shortly. But definitely Mark Kent there absolutely delivering a mammoth lap to start third, and he'll be joined on that front row by Kieran Smart for Track Scotland, your Pro-Am pole sitter, starting fourth on that second row. Jack Pitters fifth there for Type 2 Racing, the Welshman just ahead of Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, who I think did have 2 attempts left in the tank but couldn't quite get it together in the 504, but still a third row start's not a bad one. And then we do see Ben Bennyworth starting 7th for Great Mass Motorsport with one of his best qualifying performances of his career, ahead of Alex Meredith, who starts 8th. For the Next Gen Orange drive, it'll then be Craig Traddock, who starts in 9th for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, ahead of Isaac Doble for Double Sim Racing, who completes that top 10. Outside the top 10 in 11th, it's going to be Ben Gregory for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport. He got the short stick of the qualifying for the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport team, and he's got a bit of work to do now versus Adam Wilson-Weir, who starts 12th for Type 2 Racing. We'll then see 13th, Lee Horn for Next Gen Orange, ahead of Andrew Pike with the Sim Racing Collective Esports drive, looking to move forward from there, and he was only 13 thousandths off of Horn's time. In turn, he was only ahead of Nigel Stock, second of YAM drivers, who in the end took 15th, what was 5 thousandths away, and the iRacing Esports driver powered by Crest Autosport will be hoping that he can dig in a little bit and make his way forward. Jamie Dory starts 16th for Next Gen Pink, ahead of Joe Coffin, the Team Big Lips driver there, putting together a decent lap, and he was almost half a tenth ahead of Joshua Downing for Type 2 Racing. The top 20 was completed by Andy Fox for Next Gen Orange and Michael Lees for JW Motorsports. And well, Michael Lees having a dismal qualifying performance, but he's now got work to do in the race and expected to come through the field like a missile. Started 21st, second place man in the Pro-Am Championship. That's not good news for Sam Exton. The Team Big Lips driver's got a lot of work to do in this one, and he will be joined on that row by the big contenders in the championship, and that is Stuart Winnis, the Track Scotland driver there, also in a difficult qualifying session. Nick Clemens, he's out of position, starting 23rd for iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport, and well, he's going to have a lot of fun battling with Phil McDougall for CHR Project Player, who won't be holding back. Then we see starting third in the AM class, Lewis Mason for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, the AM Championship leader. With the weight in the car, you'd have to expect he's going to start a bit further back, but that far back versus stock, and also Kent, he'll be worried about that. Matthew Sheraton starts 26th for Aztec Racing, once again looking to try and carve his way through the field in the 001, head of Matthew Jordan for Next Gen Pink and Sean Doby for ATEC Tech Racing. Now it'll be Adrian Fritsch for WS Racing Esports, head of George Stone for Type 2 Racing. Outside the top 30, Marcel Fritsch ahead of Mark Hughes for WS Racing Esports and GBRC. Now it'll be the teammates of Hughes of Carl Thompson ahead of Fraser Rostance for Next Gen Blue. And on the final full rider grid, it's going to be Alan McCain for iRacing Esports powered by Cresta Autosport and Roy Plummer for Next Gen Blue. And last on the grid, starting 37th, it's going to be William Kurtler for Aztec Racing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the grid is all set and ready to go. We're almost ready to go now in terms of the racing. We're just waiting for the countdown procedure to be completed, and the lights will go on. We're going to show you one thing. This is going to be a race which is going to be filled with battles from start to finish. We've got an exciting one ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. Expect plenty of fighting from lights out to checker flag, but who exactly is going to be the one who's going to take the victory? We just need to wait and find out just a little bit longer. I can show you one thing, when it all gets started, this is going to be a brilliant one. Here come the lights, and for the first time today, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 lights. And without further ado, it's lights out and away we go for our first race of the day as they roar the way down towards turn 1. And as they do, well, it's a good start there from Wojciech Swirydowicz as Gavin Garner doesn't quite get the launch by comparison and heading in towards that opening braking zone. Well, Gavin Garner looking around the outside here, but look at Kieran Smart. He's had a lightning launch by comparison. As we are, Mark Kent's dropped a long way down. He stalled at the start, and as they make their way through turn 1, well, Ben Altrier there looking around the outside. We had a couple of cars into a bit of contact. Oh, goodness me, there's been a big incident right at the start. And well, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a safety car for that one. We'll have to wait and find out what exactly has happened there. We'll get a replay or two in due course. But meanwhile, Gavin Garner has taken the lead of Wojciech Swirydowicz. We didn't quite see how that happened. We'll have to get a replay of that as well, as Swirydowicz now chases, and Kieran Smart, Ben Altrier Dimitri and Jack Pitters all follow. In fact, the cameras are looking a little bit cloudy there. That's the smoke from the incident that happened into the opening quarter, because turns 6 and 7 are on the back end of turn number 1, essentially. But here comes Swirydowicz back, Gardner, as they roll the way over the crest and down into the next sequence of corners. And no change between these drivers at the moment, it would seem. But Gardner definitely hasn't taken the lead, and right now is trying to bolt away with it as best he possibly can. But down the backstretch they come and in towards that next braking zone. And as they do, we'll know change now. Meanwhile, further back, Sam Exton side by side with Adam Wilson-Weir. And Wilson-Weir on the inside there with Joshua Down trying to follow through. But in the end, Exton will beat him in the braking zone. And Joshua Down has to queue up behind his teammate, knowing there's going to be no real opportunity to get involved. But as they come through, we have had the safety car start to make its way out of the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. So they will race up to what will be the end of the open lap. And as soon as that, we are now under the safety car condition. So, safety car has been deployed and the racing is neutralised after the big incident that happened at turn number 1, and just like that, well, one lap is done, but now all our racing does have to come to a bit of a gradual halt before we are able to resume it. And with that, we'll have to try and pick apart what exactly happened. But it definitely was a big incident for several drivers, and once everybody calms on down, well, we need to take a look back and see exactly who's made some moves and who's perhaps lost out at the very start. There's been a lot of chops and changes, as we have seen so much batting early on. But in the pit lane, we had Adam Wilson-Weir, Stuart Boynes, also Isaac Doble, Matthew Jordan, Mark Hughes, Mark Kent and Benjamin Gregory. So several drivers have been caught up, although Adam Wilson-Weir looked absolutely fine. I wonder if there's been an incident just before they've got to the end of this open lap that we haven't seen. But there we can see the next gen racing safety car, the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4, being piloted typically by none other than Gaz Williams, and I do believe he's behind the helm of it today. And well, he's doing his best part of the safety car driver there. And when it's an easy day, he gets the best seat in the house. He gets to just sit in the pit lane and watch all the racing. But when it's been a bit of a difficult day, well, that's when he does have to get on the gloves, get into the car, and go out onto circuit and make sure that everything is as safe as humanly possible as our drivers all bring things back together. But what a start it has been, and well, as we look to Gavin Gardner bringing his way along, very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get some replays of what exactly happened. Just bear with us, we are just overcoming a tiny technical issue in the background, and then we will be taking a look back at some of those replays. But as the drivers continue to make their way around, and we are still just working on resolving the slight technical issue and being able to bring you the replay footage very shortly. Indeed, such a huge incident. But the first lap behind this safety car being completed, there will be some more of those very soon. And I suspect we will have 2 laps behind it. And that means it gives an opportunity for our drivers who have been caught up in incidents to bring themselves right onto the back of the pack and get ready to go racing once again. But definitely a bit of a big shunt there, and it's caused out a few drivers, no doubt about it. But I believe our technical issue has been resolved. You'll just have to bear with us because the overlay we have will refresh itself. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back in time and find out exactly what happened. And this was the race start. And watch out in particular for Mark Kent starting third on the right of your picture, who doesn't get the launch right whatsoever here, as we did go green flag racing. And as the field went away, well, Kent just stalled on the grid there, and everyone did very well to take evasive action around Kent. So it was an absolutely gut-wrenching start for him, and he dropped so many places down, it was seemed to be believed. But Gavin Gardner, meanwhile, battling with Wojciech Swirydowicz in towards the opening bend. As he did so, there was the incident in the rear of the picture. That was Kent being caught up in that. And, well, in the end, he was caught up, as were several drivers, including Isaac Doe as well. Oh, my goodness! Benjamin Gregory bouncing off the tyre barrier. And, well, that's a nightmare moment for both of them. But we take a look at Mark Kent's perspective of the incident. So this was on board as he went green flag racing. And what exactly happened to Mark Kent, I hear you ask? And, well, he went to go and just got an absolute ton of wheel spin. The car went nowhere, and in the end we got to see the whole field fan out around him. But as he now made his way back up to speed, well, of course he was a bit of a slow moving object here after his start, and he had to try and find a way to stem the rot. But on the inside there down towards turn 1, started to come over, got tapped on the rear, and unfortunately collected Isaac Doe in the process, and that sent him spinning on the round. And then Ben Gregory went straight on. He hit the tyre barrier as well, in fact hit the concrete barrier, and it all fell to pieces for several drivers. So that's what happened to Kent. And well, this was the exterior camera, the blimp camera there, and it looked as though it was the Type 2 racing car involved in that one. And well, that was the Type 2 car, I believe that might have been the car of, well, it's a Veloster by looks of things. I couldn't quite tell you exactly whom, but definitely being caught up there, and that's what led to all the chaos and carnage, and well, a very difficult moment. But whilst all that happened, of course, we did have what was Gavin Gardner take the lead of the race off of Wojciech Swirydowicz, and this was coming on through the runner turn 1 in towards turn number 2. So looks around the outside, and as he did so, we've got a lovely move over turn number 1, and like that, went for the move all the way into the fountain. They were too wide on entry, and he got the job done just like that. So lovely move from Gavin Gardner, and a move that will definitely put a big smile on his face. We did have this for Michael Leese and Mark Hughes towards the end of lap number 1. This was coming in towards the hairpin, and well, as Leese was giving chase, I think Hughes is going to make a bit of an error here into the hairpin, and it's what triggers it off. Leese dives up the inside, and well, the two come together, and in the end, Hughes being turned around, and Michael Leese being pinned to the wall with the WS Racing eSports car. Well, that explains that, and well, unfortunately for Mark Hughes, some damage on the car, and several cars peeling into the pit lane. But with that, and indeed a lot of drama, we now make our way back to live racing. And as we do, I believe we are now back to live racing, ladies and gentlemen. So on to lap number 4. The field is up to speed, and we are green, green, green. We do apologise there for the slight overhang with regards to not being able to come straight back to the racing, but we've had no overtakes since the safety car has come in, so therefore we are running. And while the drivers make the way on through, well, we're on lap number 4. And as they head on the round, well, Gavin Gardner right now holding on to the lead ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz, Kieran Smart, Ben Altrier, and what is Jack Pitters. And they're all together now as they really build up some speed and go on to lap number 5. We have had, I believe, a bit of a further incident from our drivers. I think Will Kurtler's been caught up in a bit of a contact, but Phil McDougall as well has now got a meatball flag associated with him. As all the drivers come on down, we'll have to try and get an explain of what exactly happened very shortly, but then we're going to stay in the live in the meantime. But Gardner, Swirydowicz and Smart together, and coming in towards turn number 1. Right now, no change between them. George Stone further back. He's looking for a move on Carl Thompson here as he goes to the inside. As he gets ready to go on to the brakes. Right now, Stone looking for a golden opportunity here, but is it going to work out for him? The answer is not quite. And well, Thompson's just able to outrun him on the brakes. There's Alan McCain, too wide here with Lewis Mason, and well, he's going to go round the outside. He runs a little bit deep. Now Mason's going to try the inside here towards turn number 4. Will it work? The answer is no. McCain will hold the place, but Mason right now has got Adrian Fritsch for close company, and we believe it was Marcel Fritsch was involved in that contact with Mark Hughes at the end of what was the first lap, which saw Mark Hughes unfortunately pick up some damage, and I believe had to go into the pit lane. In fact, Hughes now has a meatball flag to his name, so he's had some damage as well. But McDougall has come into the pits, and he's had an extended time to make his way down pit lane to repair the car, and Hughes is going to have to do the same very shortly, we expect. Hang on, next clearance here. Being chased by Joe Coffin. Coffin looking for an opportunity to go on the attack. Coming in towards what will be the right-hander of turn number 9. Well, we're getting quite close there, but rolling the way on through. It doesn't quite work out, or does it? As Coffin now looking around the outside to the inside here and towards the hairpin. And Clibbins there just loses the rear a little bit, gets unsettled on the curb at turn number 10. And Joe Coffin there going all the way around the outside to the inside. Lovely move from Joe Coffin. That moves him into 7th in Pro-Am, and that's a move that will even make him proud come the end of the day. Getting the fact, it takes a lot to impress Joe, and well, he'll be impressed himself with that one. Meanwhile, we do look back to George Stone, still chasing down Carl Thompson, breaking away from Sean Doby, who has Michael Lees for close company as they roar the way onto lap number 6. These laps are being very quickly accrued, and the battles are really building here. And well, just behind them, we do have Marcel Fritsch trying to get involved versus Will Kurtler for 6th place in the AM class. I'm hearing in my ear some damage to a car at turn number 1. I don't understand what's happened there. I think several cars have been caught out. Oh, goodness me! That's a bit of a graveyard of cars there, and a lot of cars are going through the scene. They are trying to part the scenes around. I think they're all going to make it through. The yellow flag's being respected, and everyone calms them down as Isaac Doble being one of the many drivers trying to come through from the back of the field. But as they make the way on through, well, right now we look back to Lewis Mason, who has still got Adrian Fritsch for close company, and Fritsch trying to go on the attack here as they roar the way up towards the next braking zone. Onto Yankers they come, and we can see they're going defensive. Is the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport driver trying to hold onto a podium spot, ideally second, with Nigel Stock still too far away to really get into the fight. But as we do see Adrian Fritsch looking up the inside, Audi trying to use its superior power. That Honda's going to even slide it. Normally would be on the straight. Fritsch going all in. Mason tries to squeeze him, and in the end, Fritsch backs out. They know he's going to run out of road and have a much longer braking zone by comparison with that outside line. So a great bit of defensive work there from Lewis Mason. But back up the order, we look to none other than Lee Horn. As Horn goes on to lap number 8 as he makes his way on down the curve straight. Well, Craig Twaddock, Nigel Stock and Jamie Dorey all queuing up behind, and Sam Exton would like to be a part of this, but here comes Twaddock looking up the inside, can't quite find it at the moment. Oh, and that's giving him his braking zone over Lee Horn. He goes to barrier. Oh, goodness me, there's going to be more cars into the back of him. That's going to be, I believe, the car of Sam Exton making a big impact, and unfortunately for Lee Horn, that car's going to go to the pit lane. There is no other question about that. Horn's car, I think he might even have to get it towed at this rate, but that was a mistake from Horn. Missed his braking marker, and in the end went straight on into the tyre around the outside of turn number 1. And Sam Exton came through the corner and found Lee Horn right on his path. And with the yellow flags, by the time he would have seen them, it would have been way too late. But Andy Fox right now, he gets involved here in the NXTGEN Racing Veloster. And well, he's making his way up to 8th place here. And this could be a huge haul of places from Andy Fox if it continues this way. He's definitely picking up the scraps that others are leaving behind. Matthew Sheraton dives up the inside here versus the wounded Sam Exton. And well, for Exton, a big instant that's going to hurt his championship charge, given the man was second in the championship coming into today for the Pro-Ams. And well, Matthew Sheraton, meanwhile, with that championship lead, may just be able to open that gap a little bit more. But of course, every night, excluding our special endurance rounds, it's made up of 3 races, and there's equal points for each and every race. So therefore, you've got to be consistent across all 3 races, not just one. It's not one and done, it's 3, and all of them done together. Meanwhile, Fraser Austin's looking up the inside of Will Kurtler. This is going to be for 5th place, potentially, in the AM class. Goes the inside, the 2 go door to door, and in the end, Kurtler gives him the space. And in turn, Fraser Austin doesn't push his luck too much. He tries to go around the outside of 10, in towards 11, too wide into the hairpin. And well, Kurtler's going to back out of that one. He can't fight that around the outside. Obviously, he'll run out of steering law because there's a bit of contact between him and Isaac Doble. Doble there trying to sneak up the inside on the exit to build up the speed, but realising with those converging lines, it's not going to work out as Exton now starts to make his way down pit lane. And well, as a result, Exton now will be feeling as though he's got all the work to do, as Doble and Winnis all on the back here of Kurtler. Kurtler goes defensive, but Doble's going to get to the inside in towards turn of 1. Onto the brakes to go, using the better brakes of the Honda to his advantage. 2-1 they come through, and in the end, Isaac Doble moves ahead, and Stuart Winnis right now behind, and Winnis gets it close here as they come through the fountain, but can't find his way through. But as we look from them, we look to Joshua Downing fighting with Joe Coffin. This is for 5th place in Pro-Am, and Downing right now going as defensive as he possibly can, trying to hold on to positions, and that's going to bring Nick Clibbins to the fight. And Clibbins, side by side now with Coffin, making the way down the backstretch, and he will squeeze ahead. Joe Coffin losing out there, and for Team Big Lips, this race is going from good to bad to backwards for the whole team in the space of what has been 4 laps. But as they roar the way around and in towards turn number 10, was plenty of fighting everywhere you look at the moment. And Andrew Pike trying to make some progress here on Marcel Fritsch, looking up the inside. And as he does so, heading down towards turn number 9. And well, the number 57 driver there getting the move done on Marcel Fritsch as an overall position into 19th. And this will now all be trying to get into the top 15 for Andrew Pike to make sure he tries to get some points in this race, or the very minimum gets close as possible to it. So in race number 2, he can make up even more ground and try and guarantee he will be in that reverse grid for race number 3, which is always important when you've had a difficult start today or a good one. But as he heads on down, we take a look back at some of the big moments that have happened quite recently, including, of course, this big shunt for Alan McCain and Mark Kent. Now, this was the 2 of them together, but how did it start, I hear you ask? Well, this out began, it was on lap number 6, and they were coming down towards turn number 1. Carl Thompson at the head of the pack, and he made his way under braking. What went wrong? Well, he came for the corner. Oh, my good Lord, up into the air, and, well, in the end, Carl Thompson got it wrong in the corner. Michael East had to take evasive action. I've never seen a car go that high through turn 1. That was Alan McCain. Well, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because we ride on board here for the iRacing Esports Power Crystal Autosport driver. Went onto the brakes, carried too much speed. It went straight on. At that point, he just hit the tyre barrier and it propelled upwards. And at that point, he had nowhere to go. Carl Thompson ended up in the barrel on the exit, I think, in reaction. And, well, then suddenly other cars came into the scene of the instant, including George Stone. This was what it looked like from George Stone's perspective. Carl Thompson right in front of him. So as he made his way onto the brakes, you're going to see a car up into the air, comes down, clips Thompson. And unfortunately, Stone, he's got nowhere to go at that point. He would never have seen that coming. And he got collected as well. So huge shunt for all those drivers. A very unfortunate one. Mark Kent, meanwhile, he then came up towards turn number 1, and what went wrong for the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport driver, who was your AM pole sitter? And the answer is turn 1 by himself, carried all the speed, and went straight into the parked car there of, unfortunately, Alan McCain. And I think he's going to be absolutely fuming, and they would have hoped that McCain would have towed by then. And well, I think McCain's so shell-shocked by what happened, I wouldn't be surprised if he perhaps had to take his hands away from the steering wheel. Perhaps he had an injury as well as that, because the force feedback on these steering wheels is not to be underestimated. Meanwhile, Carl Thompson, well, after the absolute theatrics we saw, he then returned to the racing and coming in towards turn number 6. The man cannot get a break, it would seem, made his way down towards the corner, and in fact decided to park up there and let the whole field on through, as Sean Doby, he's just had this happen to him on lap number 9. Well, in fact, when he's in the aftermath there, a damaged car, and I believe he's had a massive knock to the wall. Unfortunately, not going to see what triggered it, but we are going to see plenty more racing as we do return to your live pictures, ladies and gentlemen. And as we do, well, here is Joshua Downing still trying to keep Nick Clemens and Joe Coffin at bay as they claw their way down the back straightway and in towards turn number 9. And as they do, there's the stop sign there, but that's sort of conventional traffic. Well, you could say that's definitely a great brake marker there if you're able to spot it through the catch fence. Right now, keeping Clemens and Coffin at bay, at least for the time being. Although, as we look back from the rear of Downey, he's going to go a little bit wide off the corner. But, of course, that outside line means he gets better traction out the corner. Clemens, by being on that inside, he's overworking the front tyres, which, of course, you don't want to do in a front-engine front-wheel drive car, which all TCR cars, they are built to a 2-litre 4-cylinder spec, and the drivetrain is front-engine front-wheel drive. It cannot be any different compared to British Touring Car Championship, whereby you can have the mixture of front-engine front-wheel drive, front-engine rear-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive, but you have to set it so the all-wheel drive system is prioritising drive to either the front wheels or the back wheels. It cannot be equal drive through all the wheels, as we do see there Nick Clemens and a brief brush with the wall coming out of turn number 3. But the point being, in these cars, you need to be very smooth. You need to flow with the lines of the circuit, and be on the inside of the exit of a hairpin is not ideal, because what you'll do, you'll overexert the front tyres and force them to do something they're not comfortable with, and that will lead to excess wheel spin on the front end and normally understeer width. So that's why Clemens had to back off there when he was trying to attack down on the inside, as otherwise he would have pushed him to the wall. But coming down the hill in towards turn number 8, and right now we still do have a few laps left in this one. It's definitely been a dramatic race, and Clemens right now staying right glued to the back of Downing's car, and Joe Coffin following along for the ride as they make the way back up towards turn number 9. But as they do, well, Fraser Austin, he's still battling with Marcel Fritsch for 4th place, and Fritsch has found a way ahead in recent laps, but of course Rostons now wants to make sure that he doesn't let him get away. Although Stuart Winnis and Adam Wilson-Weir, they want something to say about this battle. They want to get involved. It's not going to be as straightforward perhaps for the amateur drivers, but of course if Marcel Fritsch can force Rostons to battle, I think he'll be very happy with that. It'll help out to a degree. Going in towards turn 9. There's going to be no change at the moment. And Wilson Weir, well, after it all started so well in qualifying with 6th place in class and 12th on the overall grid, it's all gone backwards as a result of the open lap incident, and now he's got some work to do. He'll make the way past our very close camera on the marshal's post there at turn number 11, but that gives you an idea how close they get to the inside wall of the hairpin and how quickly you can make a mistake. But just up the road, as we do see the wipers on, there's rain. Well, this wasn't on the cards. We weren't expecting rain to arrive here at what is the Long Beach circuit, but it does seem as though the forecast has shifted. I think the way the wind has blown, and as a result, it has been rain that's come over from the Pacific Ocean. And, well, Sonny, Lewis Mason, all company, they're all on slick tyres, and, well, they've got to worry about how quickly this rain is going to fall. Because right now, well, it is currently a dry surface, but it will very quickly become a damp one, if not a greasy one. And at that point, if we start to see forming water, this is going to get even more difficult as Adrian Fritsch sees on the opportunity here, gets the run into the inside of turn number 6 on Lewis Mason. And, well, this is a 2nd place in AM with Michael Leach just behind. And right now, when the rain starts to fall, you've got to push hard here as the wipers stay on. And I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gents, my cameras don't always pick up the rain, but when they do, you'll see it. And there we'll go. And Lewis Mason right now battling back versus Adrian Fritsch. This is such a brilliant battle. And Michael Leach wants something to do in this battle. Oh, goodness me, it's contact! It's contact, and Adrian Fritsch into the barrier. He hits the barrier full on, and as a result, the car falls to pieces. And at that point, let's give it a toe to the pits. There's no way back for Adrian Fritsch, and that is a scary moment there. Contact side to side with, we believe, as Michael Lees, and Adrian Fritsch coming away in the worst possible situation possible with a toe to the pit lane and out of the hunt for that podium spot. Now, Lewis Mason will be grateful, although I can understand the fact he'll be a little bit frustrated there, because I think he was enjoying that battle as Lees makes his way past, and Mason immediately lets that place go. He does not want anything to do with that anymore. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Kieran Smart trying to hold on to 3rd overall, your prime leader. And, well, that rain is really now starting to fall here. This is going to get tough for the drivers all the way to the end. As meanwhile, Gavin Gardner having to go defensive here. And, well, Wojciech Swirydowicz lost out to him on the open lap through the fountain. And now Gardner under major pressure as they come down in towards turn number 8. And you couldn't make up the narrative of this story. And meanwhile, Kieran Smart there having to go defensive all the way through turn number 9 and on, well, turn number 8 and down towards 9 they go. And, well, Gavin Gardner for NXTGEN Racing right now trying to hold on for a little bit longer. But your top 5 condensing together, and Jack Pitters would love a role into play in this one, in the fact that if he can do so, he could really make a move there for potentially the prime win. As Ben Trier trying to make a move on Kieran Smart for 3rd place. They're 2 wide coming all the way round, and here it's going to be 2 wide all the way towards the hairpin. And as they do, it's going to be Trier. He just sneaks ahead there. Lovely move from Trier. And meanwhile, Kieran Smart, poor run for the hairpin. Alex Meredith's there, however, and Meredith may be bailing him out at this point, as in fact, I think Meredith has elbowed his way past. And when you see a flash of the headlights there from Pitters, he's not happy with how that's played out. We're starting to see spray off the back of these cars. Remember, they are all on slick tyres. That's why we're not showing you the tyre graphic on the time tab, because they're all on slicks. And as they come down in towards turn number 1. Well, right now, this is going to be side by side here between Smart and Meredith. Meredith backs out there 9. He can't fight it around the outside. And Pitters is fuming at this right now. He wants to get involved. But remember, our drivers are battling for overall points as much as they are battling for class points as Ben Altrier. And what is it there? Kieran Smart goes side by side into turn number 4. That's not where you go battling, but somehow they find a way to do so. Alex Meredith on the inside. There's contact. He's going to push Altrier slightly wide. They're all struggling. There's no grip out there. They've still got this lap and another one to go. I wonder if coming into the pit lane for wet tyres right now may actually help a driver out here. I can't imagine what the final lap's going to be like. I wonder if this is going to be the race to crawl to the finish, but you can't crawl to the finish on slick tyres. And in fact, we will bring up that tyre compound graphic just in case anybody does do the switch. But right now, you need to maintain tyre temperature. The only way you do that on a slick tyre is you've got to drive aggressively with it in these wet conditions. But of course, the more aggressive you drive, the more likely you're going to make a mistake. This race, now it's all about survival all the way to the very end. And everyone's trying to keep it together as best as possible. But this is an absolutely incredible battle for what is the top 6. And Jack Pitters right now stays behind Alex Meredith. And he'll be absolutely wanting to clear the next-gen racing driver, as he really has proven to be a thorn in his side. But as they come out the hairpin, a poor run off the corner, and suddenly Gavin Garner and Wojciech Swirydowicz just side by side, heading down the start-finish straight. Here they go then down towards turn number 1. And up the inside, there's Ben Altrier as he snakes his way out the inside. But he gets compressed slightly. He has to back off there. That little jink has just cost him some time. But down towards 1. And it's going to be Swirydowicz on the right. It's going to be Gardner on the left. And then it was going to be Ben Altrier behind. And right now, your 2 leaders coming through. Gardner's just on the outside. Swirydowicz gives him the space. It's lap 1 all over again. And Gardner holds the inside into the fountain. Can he hold it there? They touch. They touch again. They're losing grip. There's a knock to the wall. And suddenly Swirydowicz gets into lead, or does he? I'm not quite sure as they come through turn number 3 and 4. And as they do, they're still making contact. There's no grip out there. They've just got no control whatsoever as it's too wide. Coming through turn number 5 and up towards 6 they go. My good Lord, here, and Swirydowicz is into the lead. Just for now, I think my voice is going to give up, ladies and gentlemen. My goodness. And Swirydowicz, I think, does move into lead, but literally by a hair's width. He's hanging on for dear life at the moment. And will Garner, Altrier, and Meredith all queuing up behind your top 4 all-pro drivers. And then Jack Pitters, your pro-am leader. How's he taken that? He's suddenly leapt ahead of Kieran Smart. We're going to take a look back at that when we can. But right now, we're not stepping away for a brief moment from this. This is going to come down to the hairpin. And at the hairpin, there's going to be no grip there whatsoever. But Swirydowicz pounds his way down the back stretch. Well, here we go then, ladies and gents. I think he's got 0.6 of a second gap. And with that, he's now clear of Gardner. Although one mistake here, and saying it could all erupt once again. But Gardner's trying to hold off Ben Altrier for now. As Swirydowicz gradually makes his way through turn number 9. He loses the run there through 10. And well, coming in towards the hairpin at 11. It's now just about the power and exit here. And you can see how they're all having to be so careful as Pitters side by side with Smart trying to go round the outside of him. But it's going to be a sprint to line. And for Wojciech Swirydowicz, he's going to survive the rain. He's going to take victory here at Long Beach in the first race of the day. Gavin Garner, did he beat Ben Altrier to line? I think he did by the smallest of margins. And then Alex Meredith will take 4th. Jack Pitters will take the Pro-Am win ahead of Kieran Smart by only 13 hundredths of a second. And Ben Bennyworth, 6 seconds back, will take Pro-Am 3rd place ahead of Craig Toddock and Jamie Dorey. Nigel Stott will come across the line as your Am winner in a very quiet race for him. He survived it all the madness and everything in between. Joe Coffin will come home in 11th place ahead of Joshua Downing, and then it will be Matthew Sheraton coming home in 13th place ahead of Nick Clements. But where is Andy Fox? There he is, taking the final spot inside the top 15 on the final overall point. And then we will see Isaac Doble coming on through, and then it will be Lewis Mason who finishes there in 2nd place in the AM class. Actually, brilliant drive from him ahead of Andrew Pike, who does take 18th place. And then we'll see Adam Wilson-Weir coming home in 19th ahead of Stuart Winnis, and then it will be Michael East, Benjamin Gregory, Matthew Jordan, and then Fraser Rostons. He's going to get the upper hand here in the battle with Marcel Fritsch. He'll take the final spot on the AM podium. Well done to Fraser. That's a brilliant effort, a brilliant battle between himself and Marcel Fritsch all the way to the M. And then we will see Sam Exton just behind them, taking home 26th place in a heavily damaged car, but he does just about get it to the finish line. And then it'll be Phil McDougall in 27th ahead of Mark Kent. Well, I don't think he actually will. He's going to tow to the pit lane, and well, he's out of the race. So Mark Kent's going to be the last driver to finish this race on the lead lap. He's just got to survive it, as McDougall definitely had a big moment at the barrier at turn number 9 into 10. Can Kent get to the finish line? We hope he can, as Adrian Fritsch, a lap down, comes to the finish line in 32nd place. Roy Plummer's going to be seeing the end of this race soon. position. He's just behind Kent. Here is Kent just gradually tiptoeing around. There's no grip out there whatsoever. And right now he's going to crawl to the finish line. And as he does come towards the checker flag, he will see it. And Kent, after starting on pole, this will be 5th place in the AM class. This is not the way he planned for it to play out at all. As Roy Plummer comes to line, taking 33rd and 8th in AM. But goodness me, what a race, ladies and gentlemen. The rain came. We did not expect that whatsoever. And when it did, it completely threw all sense and logic out the window. And where you can see there, the puddles of water starting to form. I think if we had one more lap, we would have really been in trouble with regards to everyone being on slick tyres. But they've just about survived it. And with that, we're going to take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. And here they are. And as we can see, after an incredible 15 laps of racing to open up our first racing experience of the Long Beach Street Circuit this season in round number 7 of season 10 of the NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship, brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles, Wojciech Swirydowicz, your winner for Project 26 of Alpha Touring Challenge, ahead of Gavin Gardner. Gardner got the upper hand on the open lap, and he held on for it for practically every lap, but unfortunately going on to the very last lap, whilst he battled side by side through the fountain, he didn't quite have enough in terms of traction, and the NXTGEN Pink driver wasn't quite able to get the upper hand on the Project 26 for Alpha Touring Challenge driver. Ben Altrier finished 3rd, battling with Gardner to the finish line. The gap between the two of them at the checker flag, 500ths, practically a photo finish, and behind the FTVM driver, it was Alex Meredith who took 4th place. The NXTGEN Orange driver sneaking his way out the order and looking so much more confident when it came to the changing conditions. Jack Pittis of Type 2 Racing, we will get a replay of this very shortly, how Pittis made the move for the lead on the final lap, because it surprised us, but he has taken the prime win for Type 2 Racing ahead of Track Scotland's Kieran Smart, who held on to it for quite some time, but he couldn't quite make it all the way to the end as your leader, and then had to settle for 2nd in prime, but 6th overall on the road. Ben Bennyworth was a further 6.5 seconds behind, and he rounded off the prime podium there for Creative Mass Motorsport in a very dedicated drive, ahead of Craig Twardock for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, who delivered a solid result there, ahead of Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink, and Nigel Stock, your AM class winner, who started a bit further down the order, but gradually made his way forward, seized on the madness of the open lap, and moved from 15th to 10th, and he never let it go for iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport. Behind your AM winner, Joe Coffin, best of the rest at 11th place, the Team Big Lips, ahead of Joshua Downing, the Type 2 Racing driver in Ian to settle for 12th, ahead of Matthew Cheverton. Now State Racing driver fighting hard and making his way gradually up the order, having started all the way back in 26th place. And Nick Clemens was 14th there for iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport, enjoying a good little battle with Andy Fox midway through the race. The NXTGEN Orange driver will take the final overall point from this race, ahead of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing, who did well to recover after being involved in the lap 1 incident and made his way almost back into the overall points. Lewis Mason, 2nd in the AM class. He'll be thinking to himself that he missed out on the win, but to be fair, there's some very valuable points there, and the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport driver was ahead of Andrew Pike by only half a second. Adam Wilson Weir and Stuart Winnis completed your top 20. It went a bit wrong for the Track Scotland driver, but in terms of things going right, well, it went quite right there for Michael Elise in the end for JW Motorsports, who made his way back up the field to 21st. Benjamin Gray took 22nd after his huge shunt to the barrier on the open lap, ahead of Matthew Jordan for NXTGEN Pink, and then Fraser Ostens rounded off the AM podium ahead of Marcel Fritsch, with the NXTGEN Blue driver only what was half a second ahead of the WS Racing Esports Audi. Sam Exton was 26th ahead of Mark Kent, and the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport driver had his head in his hands, thinking, what can he do now? Because he's got to come all the way through the field in race number 2, ahead of Phil McDougall, who was the first driver to finish a lap down. He towed after having an incident with the wall at turn 9 on the final lap. Will Kirtler was a lap down as well in 29th, ahead of Lee Horn, with the drivers outside the top 30, including Alan McCain and Adrian Fritsch. There was 2 laps down there to Roy Plummer, 4 down to Carl Thompson, and we did see non-finishes for Sean Doby, George Stone, and Mark Hughes. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got 2 more races to come today. That was just race number 1. And if race number 1 has delivered the thrill, the spills, and the madness here at Long Beach, you can be certain another 2 races are going to be nothing to laugh about. But just before we do step away, this is how Jack Pittis did make the move for what was the win in the prime class. And well, here we go. We're a quick trip back in time, ladies and gentlemen, and what a battle it was between these 2 drivers as they made the way to the finish. And it all began going through what was at turn 4 into 5, where Pittis did look up the inside. Side by side they went, and Smart went very deep there. Pittis simply just tucked in and took the place. But then a bit later on, towards the very end of the lap, this is when we did see the switchback. It was coming through 9 into 10. Pitters went wide, and Kieran Smart looked up the inside, but in the end couldn't quite get it done. So he had to then look around the outside of the hairpin. He went for it. So Ray's been on the outside there. You've got to try and understeer on through. Both guys making contact. They were always going to make contact on those lines, and it was a drag race to the finish line with both having suspension damage, particularly Pitters there. You can see the front left tyre pointing in a bit of direction, and Pitters just being a little bit closer to the finish line on the run was able to get it done. What a close finish between them. And well, with that close finish, ladies and gentlemen, and the fact we do now wrap up our first race, we'll be back in approximately what will be about 10 minutes time or so for race number 2. Don't go anywhere as we leave you with a word from our title sponsor, and that is none other than Doble Motorcycles. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycles store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back, ladies and gents, and we are back for race number 2 of round 7 of season 10 in the NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship, powered by Doble Motorcycles, brought to you on iRacing. And what a race number 1 was. But of course, with the rain having come and it has gone away, we've still got a bit of cloud over the circuit as well as some sunshine. It does feel as though we're seeing all the seasons all in one today. Indeed, California can be known for some rather unpredictable weather at times. Well, our first race definitely ended with an unpredictable conclusion. But will there be a degree of predictability in our next race when it comes to weather, or will we see an even bigger shake-up? Already, many drivers going out there testing the wet tyres, as Jamie Dory tests the front crumple zone of his Audi as well, and discovers there that he'll need to tow to the pit lane. But a bit too much confidence into turn 1, as Jack Pitters decides to make his way into the pit lane there with some damage on his own car. I think everyone right now just struggling and trying to get used to these changed conditions. But it definitely was a very exciting conclusion to the race. And I do wonder where we might be able to catch a quick word with Jack down the pit lane, where he does make his way back out there. As he does get into the car and starts to roll his way on down. And in fact, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see if we can grab a quick word with him just before he does get himself up to speed. And the rain does come back again. So bear with us. We're going to try and get a word with the onboard of Jack Pitters. As he makes his way on down then, we get the patch through to the car. Jack, just checking in on you. Have you got time for a quick chat on the broadcast?
Yeah, of course.
Jack, an absolutely dramatic conclusion to the Pro-Am Racing race number 1. You took the win, but I mean, it was a bit of an elbows out ending between yourself and Kieran Smart.
Yeah, to be honest. I was sat about a second behind him the entire race. Then the rain started coming down. Oh, had a bit of a slide there, sorry. The rain started coming down, and I just magically gained pace. Managed to get past him since he went wide. He tried to get me back at the final hairpin, and obviously too wide through there on slicks in the wet is never going to work, so yeah.
Well, it was an epic conclusion to the race, but given you're feeling quite confident by the looks of things in the wet, can we expect you to make it 2 Pro-Am wins back-to-back now?
I mean, I hope so, but you never know what can happen, so I'm just going to take it as it goes, to be honest.
All fair play. Jack, we'll leave you to it. We'll let you concentrate. Good luck in race number 2.
All right, thank you.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Jack Pitters telling us about the fact that it really came alive for him when the rain arrived. Well, if we've heard from him, I think you know what we should do? We need to try and catch a word with Kieran Smart and hear from his perspective on that. But we're just going to wait until he makes his way on through the next couple of corners. We do not want to disturb him as he tries to break his way into the hairpin. So bear with us for a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just let him clear this corner, and we'll get the on board here with Kieran and see if we can catch a quick word. So going on board as he makes his way down. Kieran, live from the commentator booth here. Have you got time for a quick chat?
Oh, yeah, I suppose I do.
Kieran, an absolutely epic end to race number 1. We've just spoken to Jack. Your thoughts on a very elbows out last couple of laps?
That was good. I never actually realised we were side by side in that last corner. So yeah, when we sort of banged doors, I could have maybe kept my foot in it a bit more, but that was good fun.
All good fun. How are you feeling for this second race based on the conditions?
It's sloppy, that's for sure.
Surely there's got to be conditions you're used to, though, given you hail from Scotland. It never shines up there. It's always rain, isn't it?
Sometimes. we get Scottish summers.
Oh, fair play. You do get Scottish summers. Well, joking around with you, we wish you the best of luck for race number 2. We'll see you at the checkered flag.
Yes, thank you.
So here and there from none other than Kieran Smart. And to be fair, you do see a sunshine in Scotland every so often. I do tease him there, although I do always regale people with a story. When I once travelled up to the city of Inverness all the way back in February, the fact that in the space of what was about an hour, I managed to witness all 4 seasons at once. Sunshine, hail, rain, snow, and plenty of cloud. But as he makes his way onwards, well, right now Nigel's not carrying on, and to be fair, you can get a mixture of weather wherever you go. And well, as we do see the Crest Autosport driver making his way around, he'll be absolutely itching to try and land a big result, as all the drivers will. But I think everyone's just getting acclimatised here. Wet tyres are the way to go. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, 30 seconds left on the clock. Everyone all all set and ready for this second race. We'll see what exactly is going to be the game plan, but of course, a cool head and not making any mistakes may be the key to victory in this one. George Stone's definitely gone straight on at turn 1. Several drivers have. I think right now all of them pushing hard, but the problem is with a street circuit, such as Long Beach, is you are reliant on what is the drainage of the circuit to move the water away. A lot of it will be very flat, as streets would normally be, but who exactly is going to end up falling flat and who is going to be rising to the top? Well, it's time to find out, because it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to head to the grid for our second race here at the Long Beach Street Circuit. And so, as all drivers make the ones to the grid, as the sun comes back out, you really couldn't make up this weather, could you? This is how they'll line up for race number 2. As they finished in race number 1, Wojciech Swirydowicz continues the theme of being on pole position. And the Project 26 for Alpha Touring Challenge driver will be joined on that front row by Gavin Garner, his main belligerent from race number 1. The next-gen pink driver will be followed by Ben Ulcher for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsports, with Alex Motive starting in 4th place for next-gen orange. Jack Pitters, your winner in the Pram class, he begins in 5th, just ahead of his rival, that's Kieran Smart. Behind the Type 2 Race and Track Scotland drivers, it will then be the pair of Ben Bennyworth for Quakemas Motorsport and Sim Racing Collective Esports' Craig Twardock. That's your top 4 in the Pro-Ams there, line up on your 3rd and 4th rows, and on row number 5, it'll be Jamie Dory for Next Gen Pink and Nigel Stock for iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport. Stock, of course, being your AM pole sitter, looking to try and make it 2 wins back-to-back, and he's got quite a gap to the next AM driver. That's Lewis Mason down in 17th for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport. But along the way to get to Lewis Mason, you have Joe Coffin in a length for Team Big Lips ahead of Type 2 Racing's Joshua Downing. Both of them putting on impressive performances as the race went on, particularly Downing. Meanwhile, Matthew Sheraton started 26th in race 1, moved to 13th. On that basis, he should be winning this one because he'll take those places again. But the Aztec Racing driver will need to put things into practice rather than theory. Nick Clemens starts 14th for iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport with an up and down race. And Andy Fox sneaking his way out through the field, took 15th in the previous race. Where can he go from there in this one for Next Gen Orange? Isaac Doe will brilliant recovery drive from him after a dismal start to race number 1 with that huge instant into turn 1. And the Doble Sim Racing driver starts 16th here. Can he get himself into the top 10 as Lewis Mason begins it in 17th? And knowing he survived a battle for the podium in the AM class in race 1, but where can he go from here in race number 2 of a slightly lighter car, and knowing that Nigel Stock is only 7 places away. From him, it's then Andrew Pike, 18th at the Sim Racing Collective Esports, ahead of Adam Wilson-Ware for Type 2 Racing, and Stuart Winnis for Track Scotland, who complete your top 20. Outside the top 20, 21st, it's Michael Lees for JW Motorsports, ahead of Benjamin Gregory, with a Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport drive, then being followed up by Matthew Jordan. Next Gen Pink drive then have the company of AMS behind him, Fraser Austin's being one of them for Next Gen Blue, and WS Racing Esports' Marcel Fitch in 25th place, starting 4th in the AM class behind the final podium finisher in race 1. Sam Exton, 26th for Team Big Lips, ahead of Mark Kent, and the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport driver. He's put his hand up and owned what happened in the run down towards turn 1 from right here in the paddock, and right now he's got to put that behind him, raise his spirits up, and to be fair, we know Mark, he's one of those drivers, if he's get his head down, expect him to come through the field absolutely flying fast. Now it'll be Phil McDougall starting in 28th for CXR Project Black, ahead of Lee Horn for Next Gen Orange, and it'll be Alan McCann completing a top 30 for iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport. 31st, it's Adrian Fritsch there for WS Racing Esports, ahead of Roy Plummer for Next Gen Blue. Carl Thompson for GBRC starts 33rd, ahead of Sean Doby for A-Tech Racing. And then on your final row of the grid, 36 drivers have made their way to this one. It's going to be George Stone and Mark Hughes. The Type 2 Racing driver just ahead of the GBRC driver, but they know they've got it all to do from the very back of the field. But as we look to the front of the field, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost ready to go once again. Another 15 laps await our drivers. This is a circuit, and there's definitely got a few puddles of water, and nobody has decided to start on the slick. Now, I wonder whether that's going to come back to haunt a driver or two. Well, we'll have to see. But right now, 15 laps between them and victory. Who's going to take it? Well, here we go. As the lights go on, it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for our second race of the day here as they all try to pull away. And it's a better start this time for Wojciech Swirydowicz as Gavin Garner stumbles a little bit. And the Hyundai Elantra seems to be the better starter in the wet from a standing start. But as they make the way down towards the first braking zone, with Swirydowicz right now trying to figure out where the grip is. Everyone will have to do so. And he'll be early on the brakes here for many a driver. But we'll have to be very careful. Oh, that's Jamie Dory into the wall. Car goes spinning to the barrier and he keeps it to the wall. And everyone manages to stay. Oh, and it goes wrong for Mark Kent. Mark Kent's been ping-pong back and forth there like a ball. And, well, in the end, being involved in contact with several drivers. Car around us, Benjamin Gregory. And FTVM, they can't have any luck here today. And for Mark Kent, that's a nightmare moment. But meanwhile, whilst it's gone wrong for them, it's gone right for Swirydowicz. Still ahead of Bedell Trier. And when he's the last member of Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, has not been caught in an instant there, excluding, of course, what is Lewis Mason in the AM class. So 2 down, 2 still up. And right now, Swirydowicz trying to pull away as Ultrier, Garner and Meredith stay behind. But we're on the way on through right now. Kieran Smart, they're in 5th place. And the Pro-Am leader, well, he's had a good start. Meanwhile, where is Jack Pittis in all this? He's fallen a long way back. He's down in 4th place in the Pro-Am class here, 8th overall. He's had the slower start compared to many, but to be fair, he might be building up some momentum. Further back, we've got Lewis Mason battling side by side here with Sam Exton. Exton goes around the outside of him. Exton's got a lot of confidence here, and will black flag for Adam Wilson-Weir. That will be, I believe, for a jump start. And therefore, Adam Wilson-Weir will have to come into the pit lane to serve what will be a drive-through penalty. That's not what he's waiting to have happen at all. As we do see Wilson-Weir on the outside here versus Exton. He's going to lose out that position. He'll shortly lose plenty more. But with the drivers who have picked up some damage, Joshua Downing, meanwhile, side by side with Lee Horn, trying to go around the outside. That's not going to work. Into the hairpin they go. They'll all queue up here into the hairpin, and we'll come in. Oh, hold up a second. That's not right. Oh, it's going to cause a traffic jam, and that's cars into the bad Andy Fox. They somehow end up in the wrong direction in the wall. The GBRC cars make contact with him, but right now, well, GBRC here, they're just having no luck whatsoever. But as our open lap comes to a close, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be a pause to the racing, because we are behind the safety car once again. The instance that happened at the start of lap, plus also the instant right at the back end of the lap, have warranted the safety car. And, well, Wojciech Swirydowicz now will see the pace drop, and this could mean that the circuit stays more wet than it would be, given the fact we will not be at full pace. But you can see there, right now, and the speed they're going at, the spray not too notable. However, I would imagine that if we were going at full pace, we'd very quickly be starting to dry this circuit. Now, will anybody who's coming in for repair work gamble on going to the slick tyre? Indeed, it looks as though right now this circuit isn't quite primed to slicks at the moment, but it's getting there. And, well, if somebody goes to the slick tyre, it could be a gamble that could prove to pay off should they find a dry line. But we're going to hurry and make our way back in time with regards to some of the big moments of the start of the race, as we do take a look back to how exactly we went green flag racing. So this was how it all began. And keep your eyes on Gavin Gott on the left compared to Swirydowicz on the right. And what you're going to see, as the lights all went out, is that Swirydowicz is actually going to nail the launch here. Gardner, meanwhile, it was pretty much the effective equivalent of Mark Kent's style from race number 1. He just simply found himself trailing back in first gear. But as the field made the way down, well, Jamie Dory had a nightmare stop. He got caught up here with a bit of contact. What exactly happened to Dory? We looked to the blimp camera here as he made his way into that braking zone, battling with Ben Bennyworth. Oh, there was the contact. That was contact with Nigel Stock's car, I believe. So that sent Dory to the barrier. I don't think Stock meant any malice. I think his front right tyre clipped the painted lines to the pit lane. We saw Phil McDowell there get caught up, Sean Doby, and also I believe that was Nick Clemens did incredibly well to react to that. But what exactly happened then to none other than Phil McDougall, because we didn't see him go round. So this was closer down. Made his way into the braking zone behind Fraser Rostant, went onto the brakes, and in the end, well, looks. Oh, I see what it is. And Mark Kent came back across there where Kent had already been ping-ponged around. And unfortunately, McDowell really took a big hit there. And, well, that's going to absolutely hurt him, no doubt about it. This is what it looked like in terms of the start of the race for Mark Kent as he made his way down. He was in a free wide at this point, although the field did clear him. And very shortly, he's going to get knocked to the barrier here, if my memory serves me correctly. Onto the brakes he goes. Unfortunately there, mistimed his braking, given everyone had clustered up in the Constantina effect. Hit the back there of the NXTGEN Racing Honda. And unfortunately, at that point, it really became what was a passenger in his own car and immediately pulled aside. So a bit of a nightmare start for him. We had this, meanwhile, for Craig Twardock. And this was Twardock already around, and that was on the exit of the fountain. I don't know how he's ended up there. And we'll answers on the postcard, please. But he was reversing the car then to try and get it out the way. And this was Andy Fox at the end of the lap, coming in towards the hairpin. And was your number 21 driver made his way on around. Well, what exactly saw him pointing in the wrong direction? The answer to that is he was contacted by the 61 there that pushed him deeper into the corner. Everyone pushed him after that. He had nowhere to go. And that number 61 being the car of Stuart Winnis, who in here made that contact. And sadly, well, we got to see Nigel Stock there getting caught up, and it really was just a traffic jam at the final corner. But with that, we come back to your live racing, and as we do, all drivers making their way on around at the moment. We are still behind the safety car, but something tells me that we will be seeing the safety car come into the pit shortly. And with that, well, we'll be going green flag racing once again. And Wojciech Swirydowicz will have the task to simply run away if he can. Otherwise, these rivals will be closing up. But Jack Pitter's having a bit of a slow start, but he will now have a second opportunity, and this will be a rolling single file start, so a bigger opportunity compared to the first one, as we do say hello to Catherine Meredith in the YouTube chat, who is cheering on Alex Meredith, but wishing everyone the best luck in this race. And I hope you're doing well, Catherine. I hope John is also doing well, and do know, of course, you're both big supporters of your son. Well, we do look forward to seeing how Alex Meredith gets on. In terms of wheels at the moment, currently in 4th place. But the safety car is away, and for Wojciech Swirydowicz, we are back to green flag racing. Just like that, we are go, go, go. So now we're going to lap number 4. We've still got plenty more laps available. We've got a grand total of 12, including this one, and there's plenty more fighting to come as they make the way down towards turn number 1. Now Swirydowicz here under pressure from Ultrier immediately looking to the inside as they roll the way off the brakes, but will there be a move? No, there will not. Ultrier there tries to go for it, as a few drives going a little bit deeper there into the braking zone, including Gavin Garner, I thought was going to hit the tyre barrier there for a brief moment. That's cold tyres for you. Cold, wet tyres. Not easy to negotiate. Further back, well, that's going to be Adam Wilson. We're diving at the inside of Roy Plummer. I believe Matthew Jordan's had a bit of a moment with the barrier at turn 1, and what you can see there, his car crawling along, bringing itself back up to speed, so I think he's had a bit of a brush with it. And Carl Thompson has definitely had a bit of a different start to this restarted race. Let's see what happened to him in short order. But meanwhile, as we look back up to Kieran Smart, the Pro-Am leader, on the back of Meredith, with Benny Worth, Coffin, Pitters and Cheverton. And Matthew Cheverton, he's really come alive in this race. He's already up to 9th place. And right now, well, we said watch out for him, because he's going to be a very quick driver. And we look down over the nose here of the 001. Yeah, set racing driver running that number in honour of his Season 9 Blue Pro Champion status. And we're coming down towards the braking zone here. He's looking so confident, looking up the inside, goes all in. That's brave. He goes for it, and Sheraton's going to get that. My good Lord, if he'd done that any later, he would have hit the rear of Joe Coffin's car. If he'd done that any earlier, Jack Pitters would not have given in. Matthew Sheraton, take a bow, good self to that one. That is an overtake that we're going to be remembering for seasons to come. That is how you lunge in the wet. Nailed that perfectly, and well, and making his way through. Now he's got to try and break away towards Coffin, and well, Isaac Dole's also been able to sneak through as a result of that. As they head down towards turn number 5 and onto lap number 1, onto turn number 1, I should say. Well, we can definitely see right now that he does have what is Joe Coffin in his sights. So Cheverton looks up the inside here, and Cheverton right now, well, gets side by side. Coffin runs a little bit deep to the barrier. Don't think there was a touch between the two of them, but we can see a flash of the headlights there. I think Coffin feels as though there was contact between them. Very difficult to tell from that camera angle, but it does mean that Coffin now loses 2 places and falls back to Pitters. And Matthew Cheverton right now is absolutely getting his elbows out there, trying to make up for all the lost ground from qualifying and race number 1 as they drift sideways through turn number 5. My goodness, they're more sideways than straight go through that corner. But to be fair, everyone doing a brilliant job of keeping it together. But with all the drama we've had at the start of this race, one thing we haven't talked about is who your AM leader is now. It's Adrian Fritsch, who's picked up all the pieces, and he does have the best part of 3 seconds between himself and Fraser Rostons. And Nigel Stock, after having the car looked at and sorted, is running in 3rd in class at the moment. And the AM driver right now, after what happened in the open lap, well, I think his thought process here at this point is a simple one, which is keep it together and don't make any mistakes. But oh, there's a car in pieces. That's Nick Clemens, and I believe Michael Lease has been caught up in contact with Clemens coming through turn 8. Well, therefore they've made a mistake. I have to understand what exactly happened to them. Cheverton looking around the outside to the inside here into the hairpin, and he jostles with it there, makes contact to the rear of Ben Bennyworth. Cheverton right now is not making any friends today, and to be fair, he's not here to make friends, he's here to make places and points. He moves up into 2nd in class, Bennyworth on the back of him as they roar the way down the start finish straight. But Cheverton right now, I do not know what he's had between race 1 and 2. If he's had half-time oranges, well, they've definitely got to have a lot of spice in them there, and because understandably, Cheverton right now is absolutely roaring up the order, as we do see a car on the outside there, stepping aside. I believe that's Matthew Jordan going a lap down after coming into the pit lane, and therefore decide not to be on the racing line at all and not to interrupt anyone as they make the way through the fountain. Well, indeed, the wet tyre is the right tyre to be on at the moment. I think this circuit, as much as we thought it was going to start drying, it's not drying anywhere near quickly as enough, and what it does mean our drivers right now having to deal with a circuit that's going to be slippery all the way to the very end. And we'll head onwards. We do see Shook Winnis. He's made his way past Coffin and Pitters. How on earth has he got there? We're going to have to get a replay of that when we can. We know he's in a much lighter car, but he's just suddenly appeared out of nowhere as the Track Scotland driver. Already caught up in a bit of an instant earlier on in this race, but making his way onwards as meanwhile Andrew Pike, well, he's fallen behind Lee Horn, but he's found his way past Joshua Downing, and Downing flashes his headlights there, not too happy about something, probably the way that Pike's made the move. Well, see if we can get a replay of that when we can. As Alan McCain, all over the back of the Sim Racing collector car, Craig Twardock, and just in front of him there is Mark Hughes, fourth of your AM drivers at the moment, who goes very sideways there, coming out of turn number 8, gets it back together or thereabouts. But a big slide like that, and well, Mark Hughes is going to lose potentially both places here. He's going to lose the place to Twardock, that's for certain. But Hughes right now trying to keep it together here, and McCain will now queue up behind and think, right, I need to try and clear the GBRC Audi as quick as possible. And of course, they're running that tribute livery to the Nissan Primaris of the Super Touring era in the mid-1990s. That infamous livery there in the white with the red and blue down the side of it, a completely iconic livery there. But meanwhile, as these drives carry on, we look back up to Alex Meredith into third. He's found his way past Gavin Garner into the opening corner. Indeed, we've had quite a few overtakes occur, and we need to get some quick replays to explain them, including firstly how Alex Meredith made that move for third place. So this was the run out of the hairpin. It was a drag race here, and Alex Meredith in the end just simply being able to outrun Gardner's Audi. We don't normally see this. It's normally the Audis outrunning the Velocitas quite comfortably, but even so, I think Meredith got the better traction out the hairpin. And here, well, they both snaked around heading down towards turn number 1, and it's amazing they didn't make contact, and Garner there did not have the confidence on the brakes to battle him. But he made that move, a lovely move there for Meredith, and we had this from Stuart Winnis, made his way past Joe Coffin a lap before. So this was coming down towards turn number 1. He'd already found his way past Jack Pittus previously. You can see him in the rear of the picture, and Winnis in the end, feeling very confident, went onto the brakes, and as he did so, getting absolutely done then, number 61 driver absolutely sealed the deal. But unfortunately, this was not sealing the deal for Michael Lees and Nick Clibbins. And Lees was tapped on the rear there, I think with contact with the Team Big Lips car. And in the end, Nick Clibbins came straight into the scene, and Andrew Pike was on the inside there and had to take evasive action. And that was your 22 involved in that, and that was Sam Exton. And well, I do believe they'll have a word after the race, those two. But meanwhile, we come back to live racing. We go on to lap number 8. And as we do, well, Kieran Smart battling here with Joe Coffin. And the Track Scotland drivers, well, to be fair, they're all fired up here, and well, the rain starts to come back down again, so we're going to get a top of the rain, and well, the slick tyre definitely was not the right tyre to be on, and well, understandably, that's why they've all stayed on wet. But Coffin's going to beat Smart into the braking zone, and Kieran Smart on that inside line will not have the ability to brake anywhere near as late, and instead, he will be just staying behind. As we do say hello to John Meredith in the YouTube chat, who's happy to be back and wanting to support Alex and watching all the fun. I'm very happy to have you tuning in with us, John, and of course, John Meredith did race on our grids, particularly in the NXTCC and also our GT3 Championship for a couple of seasons. Not quite enjoying the successes of his son Alex, but proud to be out there and enjoying himself and taking a bit of a backseat view at the moment and just simply watching his son's efforts. Always great to see a father supporting their son, as indeed a mother as well. And well, as we do see Matthew Sheraton battling side by side with Gavin Gardner. And well, he's making more placing. Sheraton into the lead of the Prime class. And Sheraton right now, nobody can tie this man down. He's absolutely flying at Sheraton. And well, understandably, he does have very little, if no weight in the car in terms of success ballast. But in these conditions right now, Sheraton is absolutely dialed in. As Joe Coffin battling side by side with Stuart Winnis here, trying to come back at him. And they're going to be too wide all the way through. Turns 9, 10 and into 11. And that's going to be Coffin on the inside here. Winnis, he's going to go around the outside, where he's going to have to make some what is concessions. And well, the concession is he's going to have to give up the place there, because Coffin is not going to let him in as they make their way past the static camera. But this fighting is absolutely intensifying. Isaac Doble, meanwhile, off camera, has found his way past Alex Meredith for third place. Meredith does have success ballast in the car. Doble does not, so therefore he will have a quicker car as Meredith looks up the inside of the braking. He snakes, makes a bit of a tap there to the rear of Doble, but they both survive it. And in the end, that definitely looks a bit of a hairy moment, but Doble just about stopping it in time. And the same for Alex Meredith there. That could have been a nightmare moment for the pair of them, but it wasn't to be, as Jamie Dory's into the pit lane, Nigel Stocks into the pit lane. They've all got damaged cars. I can't tell you what damage they've got, ladies and gentlemen, but I look out my contact booth window and I can tell you, in amongst all the rain, it's pretty much a deluge in the pit lane at the moment. There's a lot of standing water, and right now Story and Stocks cars are both heavily wounded. And Sonny, we have now got Mark Hughes into a podium position in the AM category. Speaking of which, here is Mark Hughes. And you can see him there in the GBRC and Audi, and on his way up towards what is turn number 5. All he's got to do right now is stay out of trouble, and this will be a rare podium for Mark Hughes. We've seen a couple of them this season and in previous seasons as well, but here today he might be able to add another podium to his entree. Roaring his way through at turn number 6 and 7. The 495 driver right now definitely keeping his head down here with Lewis Mason 5 seconds behind, and then it is a 1 second gap to Fraser Rostance. He could yet potentially chase down second place. You can see Rostance there at the head of this group as they head down the back straight. Trying to see whether it's going to be possible for him, as Gavin Gardner losing place. In fact, he's just been passed by Winnis, and then we will see Joe Coffin on the back of him, although Kieran Smart is trying to poke his nose into a bit of a fight there as they head on down. But here he goes, Kieran Smart side by side with Coffin, and forward visibility inside the car, much worse than what we see on our cameras outside of it. But Smart on the low line here, coming through the bank to turn in towards turn number 1. But of course, now it's going to be into the braking zone, and Coffin on the inside, well, he backs off there. He has not got the confidence on the brakes. Gardner looks up the inside, and meanwhile, Kieran Smart goes deep with the brakes. He does get it stopped in time, but not before Joe Coffin takes that place back. It's a brilliant back and forth battling action between those two, and Lee Horn now follows on behind. And Horn's come all the way from 29th place to be in 10th place right now, so he snuck his way on through, surviving the conditions where others are not. And remember, of course, Lee Horn was the original, what was it, dry to wet or wet to dry winner in a race in the NXTCC back when wet weather conditions were introduced midway through season 7, with an absolutely epic win that will go down in history as one whereby he picked the right time to go on the right tyre and absolutely just ran away with the race. Although the circuit they raced at escapes me, and I can't remember it at the moment, but I'm sure it will come back to me one day. A little bit further back, Fraser Austin's losing out there to Craig Twardock, gives the place up to him. Adam Wilson-Weird's getting closer. Hold up, where is Mark Hughes? He was there, and he's not anymore. He's into the pit lane, is Mark Hughes, so he's had damage to the car. So Sonny Lewis Mason returns to 3rd place in AM. So he's gone down, now he's back up here. This is a real roller coaster ride, and behind is Sean Doby, who's got a meatball flag for his car. So Doby's got to try and hold on here right now. He's most likely going to be coming into the pit soon for repair work, and if so, well, will Doby then be relinquishing all those places? And who's actually going to be taking the AM podium at this point? It seems like anyone who gets into a podium position is cursed to be involved in an incident of some description, and that's not the way you want it whatsoever. But as we do see Doby heading in towards turn number 9, well, what happened to Mark Hughes? Here's a replay. Well, in fact, that's the aftermath, and the whole rear left of the car, the whole left side of the car has completely collapsed. That's not normal at all. He's had a huge shunt, and here's an earlier replay that I think will explain it. So, heading down towards turn number 9, he was under a bit of pressure from the Type 2 Racing Veloster, went onto the brakes, and it was the car behind the pair of them that went straight in the back of the Veloster and sent Hughes on his way to the tyre barrier. And I believe that might have been Alan McCain who came in way top for the braking zone and hit both of them on the back, and in the end caused a domino effect. And sadly for Mark Hughes, it brought all his aspirations that podium to a crushing halt. But meanwhile, we can't halt all the racing action that's going on live at the moment as the sun comes back for a brief moment. Indeed, right now, I don't think the weather can make its mind up whether it wants to be dry or wet or somewhere in between. But Isaac Doble still fighting with Matthew Sheraton. Sheraton trying to come through here, and Sheraton's going to be taking 4th place this race. My good lord, Sheraton is absolutely on a mission here to cause madness, and Alex Meredith has since got back ahead of Sheraton and Doble, and what continues to swap back and forth. We can see there Winnis and Coffin almost side by side coming through at turn 9 in towards 10. We still got this lap plus another 4 to go. It's not over yet, but Sheraton right now, well, I'll tell you one thing, as I mentioned earlier, he's not here to make friends today, and right now I don't think he's got any friends in the paddock at this rate, given how hard he's fighting. They'll calm down afterwards, understandably. He's not alone in the paddock, none of the drivers are. You've got a brilliant community here in the NXTCC, but the Aztec Racing driver right now, he's here today to take places, and he's definitely chasing down that Pro-Am Championship crown. And after losing a lot of points at Watkins Glen for post-round race instant reviews, we're understanding right now he wants to make up amends. They come down towards 1, going very defensive there in towards the opening corner, into the barrier. That is going to be Stuart Wine is sliding sideways, and with it he has gone across into the pit exit, so he picks up a slowdown penalty for that. Hold up, who's that parked on the outside of turn 1? That's Jamie Dory. Dory's got it all stuck there in the barrier, so Dory's going to tow to the pit lane as well. I don't believe it. I think Dory was already a lap down, to be fair, so this doesn't change the places on the lead lap, but what it does do is cause confusion. As meanwhile, Wine is being pushed around there by Joe Coffin, and Coffin right now pushing the distance, but Winus has got damage. That hit to the barrier has broken the rear suspension of the car, so Coffin moves up into 2nd place in Pro-Am. As we have a disqualification for the race for Sean Doby. I believe that will be for instant points potential, though that's very rare to happen unless he's driven backwards in the wrong direction of the circuit for a period of time. Well, we'll have to try and understand what exactly has happened to Doby, but he will be out of this race and dropped all the way to the back. That never happens. We don't normally have instant point limits, to be fair, but Doby's been disqualified for some reason automatically. I suspect he's driven in the wrong direction for too long, and we've tried to get the car back on circuit after running into a runoff area when he's needed to tow. But as a result, as Matthew Sheraton has got Isaac Doble now all over the back of him, we're saying it's battle for 4th place. Absolutely electrifying, but Doble goes up the inside there, and he says to Shepperton, try it on for size. And as they come out the corner, well, now you know that the lines have been drawn between these drivers. And Shepperton there flashing his headlights, not too happy. It's into the pit, comes Winnis, and he's going to have to give up. Where's the fight for the podium in Pro-Am? Joe Coffin takes that second place comfortably, and now Winnis' teammate of Smart. Well, can he hold on here for that final Pro-Am podium spot? He's got 8/10 of a second between himself and Ben Bennyworth as they come down towards turn number 1, but all in line formation at the moment. These drivers, they make their way into that braking zone, and Smart right now, well, understandably here with the way this has gone, as I do believe all our drivers make their way through the fountain sequence. In fact, we are behind a safety car, ladies and gentlemen. We have seen the racing halted. Do apologise, we didn't quite pick that up, but we did have we have the safety car out there, and well, the racing is brought to a halt. Now, how long will this safety car be there? We believe it was called because of where Jamie Dory's car was parked on the exit of turn 1, and well, that led to a major concern as to what would happen next. And once the drivers make the one through, we're going to take a quick look back at what exactly happened to Jamie Dory. So this was Dory making his way down towards turn 1. He was by himself at the time, almost a lap down effectively. Went into the braking zone, the car snaked one way then the other, tried to get under control, and in the end hit the tyre barrier, and it was a broken car. But as he then tried to get it turned around, well, I'm amazed it was not towed, to be fair, by Dory. I would have thought he would have towed that, but perhaps he's hoping to get it going, but in the end, definitely not. So that car had to be towed, and we saw him creeping along there, as meanwhile, we had this for Nick Clibbins. And this was Clibbins coming down towards turn number 9 as he did so on the brakes there. Went onto a patch of water, and the car just slid straight forward and straight to the barrier. Goodness me, so many drivers getting it wrong, and Clibbins having to tow to the pits. And we had this for Benjamin Gregory, as if his day had not been terrible already. He was battling with Sean Doby, and is this what caused the disqualification for Doby? Well, as they made their way down towards turn 1, onto the brakes they went, and Gregory just got it wrong now. The braking just went straight on, and there he found the number 21 parked up, and that's the car, I believe, of none other. I think that was the number 21 there, unless I'm mistaken. Was that Andy Fox just waiting for him there patiently? Yes, it was, as Dory was parked on the inside on the run into the fountain. So a lot of drama, and we come back to your live circuit side pictures, ladies and gentlemen. And as we do, is the safety car coming in? Yes, it is in. So we are going green once again. And well, ladies and gentlemen, we have got 2 laps remaining. I don't believe we had a safety car for a single lap, and now we're back out there once again. We're a circuit that is drying a little bit. The rain has stopped, although I've said that several times. I seem to put the curse on the weather. As Ben Altrier going defensive there versus Alex Meredith. Coming through turn number 1. Altrier trying to keep it together as Meredith right now trying to pounce one way then the other. He's not going to find a way through. Eyes at Doble on the back then as they come through the fountain sequence. But you ride on board, looking down over the front of the Doble Sim Racing 65. But look at Meredith right now. He's literally trying to poke his nose in everywhere. He's going to go for it. It's turn 5. You don't normally do this, but he's going to go for it. Careful, gentlemen, as Doble goes completely sideways there through the corner. And that's because of a lack of grip. It's not for a lack of ability. And coming down towards turn number 6 right now, Matthew Sheraton. Well, he wants his way into this as Alex Meredith does go from inside to outside there and take second place. Can he potentially take on Swirydowicz to the win? If so, he's got this lap plus one more to try and do it, and he's got a lot of pace at his fingertips. Plus, of course, he's got no major weight in the car. He did start in 4th place. He does have the best part of about 30 kilograms of success ballast, but not the 56 that Swirydowicz has, and that could be making a major difference here. All down they come in towards the corner as Sheraton loses the rear under braking, but he just catches it there. My good lord. And Sheraton right now sliding all over the road and was like a slippery snake right now. But to be fair, it could be a venomous situation for him. And through that hairpin, we see all the queue behind. Adrian Fritsch still your AM leader at the moment. He's holding on in there, and he's got a comfortable gap to Fraser Rostons, who's got Lewis Mason closing on him. But ladies and gentlemen, whereas we see Fraser Rostons there going more sideways to the straight through turn number 10, and Mason's going to go on the attack when he can. We come on to your leader, and with it the final lap, lap 15 of 15. Swirydowicz leads. Alex Meredith second there, and right now is breaking away from Isaac Doble and Ben Altrier behind. Doble has found his way past Altrier, coming through turns 9 into 11 on the previous lap. And right now, can Doble hold on for this final podium spot, or will Ben Altrier be able to take it off of him as Matthew Sheraton and Joe Coffin, first and second in the Pro-Am class, want their own chance in the fight, as that's going to be Sheraton, seeing Ben Ultria go very sideways there, and Will Ultria right now struggling for grip. I don't think his wet tyres have got any life left in them, as the full tilt virtual motorsport driver continues to push hard, but look at that in the rear of the picture, you'll see Sam Exton, Gavin Gardner side by side. Gardner losing places here, hand over fist, all the prams are swarming in right now like bees. It's going to be 3 wide under braking there, it's going to be Bennyworth on the outside, Gardner in the middle, and Andrew Pike goes round the outside of both of them. It's a lovely move from Andrew Pike, up into 10th place there. And meanwhile, Bennyworth now trying to go around the outside of Gardner. He does so. I think Gavin Gardner's got a problem with that car. It is going slowly. In fact, he's pretty much building a queue here, coming down the back stretch that went and fan around him. And Adrian Fritchie right now finding himself swarmed by prime drivers. And in fact, I think the suspension damage there for Gardner's car as they get ready to go into that braking zone. But meanwhile, we come back in towards turn 11, and there's Alex Meredith hold of Isaac Doble. But as they come out of the final corner for Wojciech Swirydowicz, it is going to be a game of survival of the fittest, and he's proven to be the fittest one to take back-to-back wins. Alex Meredith takes second ahead of Isaac Doble, and Ben Ultria takes fourth ahead of Matthew Sheraton, who makes it what is the Pro-Am win ahead of Joe Coffin, runner-up on the Pro-Am podium. Lee Horn takes seventh, and then Kieran Smart will pick up the piece in the third place spot on the Pro-Am podium ahead of Sam Exton, with Andrew Pike, Ben Bennyworth, and Joshua Downing completing the top 12, and Adrian Fritch guarantees his spot inside the reverse grid for race number 3 by taking 13th overall, but most importantly, AM victory. And I do believe that is his first AM win of the season. Congratulations to the youngster side, because that's an incredible result to take in these conditions. Had a Craig Todd, Adam Wilson, and Stuart Winnis, and then we do see Fraser Rostance in second place in the AM class there, taking what is another podium. He's only had one so far this season. He now picks up another, and Lewis Mason making it back-to-back podiums in the AM class. Just ahead of Benjamin Gregory and Jack Pittus, with Marcel Fritsch taking 21st place, fourth in the AM class, Nigel Stott 22nd, and he will be your last finish this race, ladies and gentlemen. I believe, well, in fact, no, he won't be the last finisher on the lead lap, because it'll be George Stone ahead of Gavin Gardner, and then Andy Fox, and then we will see Michael Lees be a lap down, as will Andy Fox. So therefore, Gavin Gardner, your last lead lap finisher, but in the pit lane to do it due to damage to the car. Well, as Aura drives calm on down and cool on down, oh, goodness me, that's Isaac Doble involved in some sort of altercation. I think there he's perhaps made a mistake coming in towards turn number 9. Either that or Ben Ultria and him have had words, because both are towed to the pit lane simultaneously. Well, either way, their results will stand, and as Wojciech Swirydowicz makes his way into the pits, well, right now, it does seem as though the number 80 driver here, nothing is able to stop him, whether it be the weather or his rivals on the circuit, he's absolutely able to deliver. But Matthew Sheraton, what a drive for him to come all the way through the field from 13th to fight his way into the Pro-Am win. And well, right now he'll be hoping for a nice reverse grid for him to try and make it 2 Pro-Am wins back to back. And for Adrian Fritsch, a huge result as he comes down the pit lane, and well, his first AM win of the season, his first AM win in his NXTCC career, and I can expect the youngster's going to get out that car, and he'll be met by his dad Marcel, and well, they'll be absolutely jumping up and down in joy, because, well, Marcel's had wins in the past, but not Adrian Fritsch. But as our drivers cool them down, let's take a look at those race results, subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries. And a race that was filled with excitement. Wet weather conditions that made the circuit absolutely tricky to take on. Plus also plenty of battling. The safety car as well came out twice. You name it, it happened in this one. But what also happened was Wojciech Swirydowicz made it 2 from 2 overall for Project 26 for Alpha Touring Change. Almost 3 seconds clear of Alex Meredith at the finish line, with Meredith fighting hard and having to fight his way through into second place. The NXTGEN orange driver was 4 attempts ahead of Isaac Doble, who missed out on the second place spot, but definitely guaranteed himself a podium with that third. And the Doble Sim Racing driver had the thick of the fight in front his way and able to fend most of it off. Ben Ultria took 4th place. The full tilt virtual motorsport seemed to struggle towards the end of the race. The grip levels just not being there on the second restart behind the safety car, and he fell to 4th for FTVM, but he was ahead of your Aztec Racing 5th place finisher and prime winner of Matthew Sheraton. The number 1 driver there, making sure to be number 1 in his class ahead of Joe Coffin, who was only 4 attempts by him. The Team Big Lips driver won't be too upset about the fact that he's taken a podium position. He'll be quite happy to have brought home some significant points. And then Lee Horn was 7th there for NXTGEN Orange ahead of Kieran Smart. Kieran Smart was 3rd place in the Pro-Am class of Track Scotland ahead of Team Big Lips' Sam Exton, who ran off 4th place in Pro-Am, just missed out on that podium, but still is ahead of Andrew Pike by 6 attempts to a second, and the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver completed that top 10, with Ben Bennyworth best of the rest in 11th. The Quatermass Motorsport driver completed the top 5 of Pro-Am ahead of Joshua Downing, The Type 2 racing driver then followed up by Adrian Fritsch, who took 13th place, guarantees his spot in the reverse grid, and with an AM win as well for the Austrian youngster. And WS Racing esports driver will be absolutely proud of this result. Behind the number 16 was the 200 of Craig Twardock, and it was Adam Wilson-Weir, who in the end rounded off the top 15 and all the points paying overall positions behind the Sim Racing Collective esports driver. But from them, it was then only 2 attempts to Stuart Winnis, who after fighting for the podium for so long, had to settle for 16th after repair work to the car late on for Track Scotland. And it was Fraser Rostant's runner-up in the AM class for Next Gen Blue, 6 attempts ahead of Full Tilt Virtual Motorsports' Lewis Mason. Mason ran off the AM podium, but he finished ahead of Benjamin Gregory as well, 2 attempts behind his teammate. And then Jack Pitters completed the top 20 with the Type 2 racing driver having a difficult race number 2 compared to his race number 1. In 21st, it was none other than Marcel Fritsch ahead of Nigel Stock, and that was your top 5 in the AM class between those two. And the iRacing esports powered by Crystal Autosport driver was followed up by Type 2 Racing's George Stone, who almost managed to steal the place off of him. And it was a lap down as a classified due to his toe to the pits at the very end for Gavin Garner with issues to the car for Next Gen Pink. And we also saw a lap down to Andy Fox, Michael East and Mark Hughes, and then 2 laps down there to Alan McCain, 3 down to Matthew Jordan, 4 down to Sean Doby, Nick Clemens, Carl Thompson and Jamie Dorey, 5 laps down to Roy Plummer in 34th, and sadly non-finishers are classified to Mark Kent and Phil McDougall. So 36 starts in the end, ladies and gentlemen, most of them seeing the finish line, but of course that was only the finish line for race number 2. We've got one more race to come today, and well, as we get ready for race number 3, we have that all-important question, of course, of where exactly will we be reversing the grid from. So without further ado, we make our way to the commentary booth, and as we do, well, we transition on over, and good evening to you. I hope you're all doing well, and well, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have another reverse grid draw on our hands, but where exactly are we going to be reversing that grid from? So what we're going to do is we're going to go grab the lottery bowl. Here it is, the Next Gen Racing lottery bowl. I'm going to close my eyes very shortly and draw 2 balls out the bowl, and that's exactly where we will be reversing the grid from for the purposes of our 3rd race here at Long Beach today. So let's get the draw going, and I'll close my eyes. And there's the shuffle. And we take our first ball out of the bowl. And it is going to be the number 8 making its 3rd appearance for this season. So it'll be a relatively sizable reverse grid. But what will be joining the number 8? Here we go for our second draw. I'll close my eyes, give them a shuffle. And we'll draw a ball out of the bowl. And it is going to be, for our second ball, the number 7 makes its first appearance this season, so it is going to be a top 15 reverse grid, and what that means is in terms of who is going to benefit from it, it is going to be none other than Adam Wilson-Weir, who will be starting on pole, but he'll be joined on that front row of the grid by none other than Craig Twardock, but behind them, Adrian Fritsch has a golden opportunity to make it back-to-back and wins because he will be starting 3rd. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go get set for race number 3. I'm going to take plenty of water on board to save my voice for race number 3, and we will be back in approximately 10 minutes' time for our final race of the day. But as we do leave you, we leave you with these words, of course, for our title sponsor for this series, and that is Doble Motorcycles. We will see you again very shortly.
Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycles store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for our final race of the day in round number 7 of Season 10 of the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship, powered by Doble Motorcycles and brought to you on iRacing. Another 15 laps await us, and as they do, well, there's plenty more to be seen and enjoyed in our final race of the day. And race number 2, well, the rain arrived, it went away, and it kept coming back. And we can definitely see this circuit right now is still looking very much slippery, as a few drivers are looking to tempt fate by going out there on slick tyres, including none other than George Stone. Try to see whether there is going to be just a little bit more pace there on the slick tyre rather than the treaded, but it doesn't seem as though at the moment. Now, we do have some news to bring you with regards to some incidents that did happen in race number 2, and the big one, what happened to Sean Doby? Why was he disqualified from the race? Well, he was automatically disqualified, not because he'd driven in the wrong direction on the circuit, which is what we perhaps surmised, but it was because of the fact he did have a meatball flag, and that means that drivers do need to come into pit lane within 3 laps of it being awarded in order to repair the car. They are driving an unsafe car, and well, he did not manage to do that, and therefore he was immediately disqualified from the race for driving an unsafe car, and therefore not to be an inconvenience to other drivers. That's the iRacing system. That's not our stewards doing that. It's something that we cannot overrule, as I understand it. So that's what happened to him there, and indeed a bit of a shock to the system. But beyond that, well, that's the big news that we've got, and now we've got 3 minutes before we do it all over again. And well, Gavin Garner having difficulty towards the end of the race, and indeed throughout it, did not seem to be on the balance compared to how he was in race number 1, but also a bit more weight in the car and pushing on as much as possible. Now Mark Kent, as he makes his way on around, right now, understandably, the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport driver will be itching to see whether he can just pick up a few more pieces and places. Now, we would try and catch a word with 1 or 2 of our drivers just before we go racing one last time. I'm not quite sure if we're going to be able to catch a word with them. I don't think everyone's getting their head down and concentrating. We'll see what we can do. I mean, we would love to catch a quick word, perhaps, with Adrian Fritsch to talk to him about his performance. Well, let's see if we can just do that, ladies and gentlemen, because, of course, it was a bit of a special occasion. We'll just give him the opportunity to make his way onto the back straight, and then we'll try to catch a word with your number 16 driver. We double-checked, I believe that was his first win of his NXTCC career, and doing it in the AM class by just simply staying out of trouble. Well, here he goes into the corner. Let's get the onboard. As we do get patched through to the car. Adrian, we're just checking in on you. Have you got time for a word on the broadcast?
Yeah, of course, every time.
Adrian, I believe that was your first AM win of the season and your first AM win of your NXTCC career. You must be absolutely proud of that.
Yeah, of course, it's my first season, so I didn't expect such a great race to happen, but somehow I did it.
Well, you did it by being smart and not making any mistakes, which is never easy to do in a field like this. Can you make it 2 wins back-to-back now in our final race? Because you are going to be starting 3rd place on the grid.
Yeah, that's, I don't know, some insane luck. So I hope I make the best out of it. Definitely want to be first a second time, and I think everything is to my favor. But yeah, we will see how the race goes and how mentally fit I am still at this time of the day.
Oh, fair play, Adrian. We wish you the best luck in race number 3, and we'll see you at the checkered flag.
Thank you. Great evening.
You too. Well, there, speaking to Adrian Fritsch, he's always a bundle of joy, is the youngster, to be fair. And well, I know he's currently speaking to his dad as well, so that's why we'll give him just a few seconds to have a quick chat with him in the pit lane. And well, they're just working out all the final bits, but did not expect to take his first AM win on his first season of the NXTCC. But he's loving it, and I love that enthusiasm from Adrian. I'm so happy we got a chat to him for a brief moment. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, the chat needs to stop now for all the drivers. It's time to get their heads down. It is time for the final race of the day. Race number 3, 15 laps, a top 15 reverse grid. Who's going to come out on top? It's time to find out. And so as our drivers make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for our final tour around downtown Long Beach. It's Adam Wilson-Ware who takes pole position with the top 15 inversion for Type 2 racing pro-am pole and overall, and he'll be joined on the front row by Craig Tardock for the Sim Racing Collective Esports. Behind them, third on the grid is your AM pole sitter of Adrian Fritsch, and he'll be hoping he can convert this into a huge result, as the WS Racing Esports driver will not have anybody else inside the inverted grid in the AM class. Joshua Downing starts fourth there for Type 2 racing ahead of Ben Bennyworth, the Crate Mass Motorsport driver. He'll be keen to fight his way forward. Watch out for him. I think he's going to be targeting the Pro-Am podium, if not the Pro-Am win. Andrew Pike starts in 6th place. He has a golden opportunity here to try and make it another race-free win for the TSRC team. And he has Sam Exton for Team Big Lips and Kieran Smart behind. Then we do see behind the track Scotland driver, it's Lee Horn for NXTGEN Orange, who looked impressive in the wet conditions of race number 2 until it slightly fell apart towards the end. But to be fair, that was more the way the battles played out rather than mistakes on his end. Joe Coffin, 10th on the grid for Team Big Lips, and I think some teams are looking at fitting the dryers potentially, and they're trying to gauge the conditions at the moment. In the 11th, it's Matthew Sheraton for Aztec Racing. Full half for that Pro-Am win in race number 2. Expected to fight hard with 32.5 kilograms of success ballast in this one. Ben Trier, 12th on the grid for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, and we'll try and make it another great result. Isaac Doble there in 13th place for Doble Sim Racing, not too far behind on the 7th row. Alex Meredith, your runner-up from race number 2, starts 14th for NXTGEN Orange, and Wojciech Swirydowicz will be 15th on the grid for Project 26 Valve Touring Challenge, and his game plan is to see how far he can go, and whether he can try and make it free from free, or at least make his way back into the top 5. Stuart Winnis, just missing out on that reverse grid, starts 16th for Track Scotland, ahead of Fraser Roston, second of the AM drivers. The NXTGEN Blue driver will be joined by his fellow AM rival of Lewis Mason Ferdinand, starting 18th for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport. Benjamin Gregory, 19th there for FTVM, ahead of Jack Pitters for Type 2 Racing. Watch out for Pitters, and I did catch up with him in the build-up to this race, and he said that after I'd spoken to him at that interview going into race number 2, I'd given him the commentator's curse. And I do apologise, Jack, if so. Indeed, it seems to be a thing. I give the commentator's curse to those who I interview every so often. Marcel Fritsch starts in 21st. And gets himself absolutely itching and ready to go for WS Racing Esports ahead of iRacing Esports powered by Cresta Autosports' Nigel Stock. And what a tough day it's been for him. George Stone starts 23rd for Type 2 Racing ahead of Gavin Garner for NXTGEN Pink. Garner having that dismal into the race after it was looking so good. And then meanwhile, Andy Fox starts in 25th for NXTGEN Orange. JW Motorsports, Michael East, 26th. He'll see if he can salvage some points out of this one ahead of Alan McCain for iRacing Esports powered by Cresta Autosport and NXTGEN Pink's Matthew Jordan. And it'll be Sean Doby after disqualification from race number 2. He starts 29th for ATX Tech Racing ahead of Nick Clemens for iRacing Esports powered by Crest Autosport. Outside the top 30 will be 31st to Cole Thompson for GBRC ahead of Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink. Roy Plum will begin this one in 33rd place for NXTGEN Blue. And last on the grid, it will be Mark Kemp for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, 34th in the number 94. From the very back, we lost a couple other drivers, including Phil McDougall, who unfortunately has got a car that cannot be repaired due to the damage it's picked up. But that is going to be the grid. And they're almost all ready to go. One last time, ladies and gentlemen, and well, we have a couple of drivers who have gone to the grid on the slick. It is Michael Leese and also Jamie Dory. They've got nothing to lose, starting in 26th and also 32nd, so why not, I hear them say. And as they get ready, we say hello to Max Andrews as he joined the broadcast, and we look forward to seeing you on the grid in the future, Max. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here come the lights. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5 lights. And it's lights, and away we go as they roar the way away for the final time today. But as they do a very poor start there for Adam Wilson-Wee, doesn't go anywhere. Adrian Fritsch gets a brilliant start by comparison, but Craig Trott launches way to lead. It's going to be a scramble here, 4 wide as they head down towards turn 1. My goodness, I don't think I've got enough water in my throat right now. And as they come down towards the opening braking zone, oh, there's car round. That's going to be Lewis Mason being sent spinning, I think. He comes back across the road. Oh, goodness me. And everyone slams on the brakes immediately. Well done to everyone reacting to that. And indeed, it could have all gone very, very wrong. But Wojciech Swirydowicz caught up in that, and the Swirydowicz he sent all the way to the back of the field with a meatball flag as well. Oh, Carmen's spat out there, so Isaac Doble through the fountain. And Doble into the barrier there, and Sonny, what's looking to be a good opportunity to make up some big ground today. That's all been waylaid. But as the lead portion of the field right now carry on their journey, and well, I wonder if the safety car will be called or not. Well, we can see there, that's going to be Sam Exton looking up the inside of Joshua Downing, really going in for it from very far back. And well, there's going for it, there's a lunge, and then there's sending it from Australia. And that's exactly what Sam Exton's done there. He's not based in Australia, but that's the distance between the two drivers. They've made way into the braking zone, but that goes to show you the confidence there. As a bit of a touch, and Joshua Downing goes to the barrier. area. Exton right now itching to get past. He will drag races round past here, although you can see Downing is not very happy with the fact there was contact between them. And I think right now he's going to look to do the return up the inside. He does. He goes all in. But then has to mount the curve. The car snatches on him, and he snaps it back into action. Jack Pittas and Alex Meredith fighting in the rear of your picture. Meredith round the outside. They're keeping Pittas at bay. Moving into 12th place then is Meredith, as Kieran Smart and Andrew Pike fight their way through the hairpin. And Andrew Pike's not really made any ground in this race. He's actually lost it since the start, so it's got a bit backwards for him. But we have no safety car, so we are still running under green flag conditions, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm being told in my ear, and as they make their way down towards turn number 1. And Craig Twaddock right now ahead of Adrian Fritsch. That's your prime leader ahead of your AM leader, and it's your pro leader of Lee Horn. 3 different classes, the top 3 positions, but in a way in a jumbled order. And Adam Wilson-Weir currently running in 4th place. They're second of the primes, looking to try and get involved. Sam Exton comes through. Oh, there's contact between himself and Joshua Downing again. Oh, it's through the fountain section. In the end, both of them calm it down, and there's a yellow flag there for Exton. That's for track limits coming into the fountain, I believe, if not through turn number 1. So he's got to give some time back. He does, and he gives up the position. So Exton decides that he's got to respect the rules. He can't break them. Going up towards turn number 6 right now. He's very eager to get past, but this is getting very red-tempered between Downing and Exton. And Exton right now wants to get a move done, but I think as good as he's given to Downing, Downing is giving us good back. Meanwhile, further back, Marcel Fritsch, he's had a brilliant start to this race, into second in the AM class. Could it be a father-son 1-2? Well, so that'd be an incredible moment. I think it'd be a very emotional moment for father and son as they come through in towards turn number 8. But as we do, was that a bit of rain I just saw appear on the camera? I'm not 100% certain, ladies and gentlemen. My eyesight may be deceiving me, as Adrian Fritsch on the outside there at turn number 9. Let's Lee Horn go. Horn making that critical move, and Adam Wilson-Weir now tucks in behind and looking to try and get back into the fight. But as they roll their way out of turn number 11, well, these drivers right now still keeping their head down here if they make their way onto lap number 3. Further back, oh my good lord, that is worse than the Macau GP, as they all end up queuing. That's a traffic jam, that's a complete blockage at their hairpin, and well, that's the best part of about 15 cars all being brought together. They all come to a halt. There's all bits of car everywhere, and well, I don't know how that started. I'll tell you how it's ended, ladies and gentlemen. It's ended with cars in bits, and the safety car has been immediately called. So we have a safety car out there. That's been a very late call on the safety car in terms of it coming out just ahead of the overall leaders, but it's the right call to be made, to be fair. That was a huge jump. And well done to the stewarding team for jumping on that straight away. They had barely any time to react on that, and they've had to make that call very quickly. And well, I can tell you one thing right now, they are really earning their pay today, the stewarding team. But as we do see the whole field now take its time around behind the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4, with its own wet tyres on the car, heading on around. Well, definitely a change on our race director there, definitely getting that call absolutely right. But as the whole field calms them down, a few drivers trying to get some tyre temperature, but we need to get some updates on what exactly happened there. And well, we take a look back in time, but we begin by taking a look back at the race start. So this was how we got underway, and what you'll notice here is that Adam Wilson-Weir had a terrible start compared to everyone else in the first 4 rows. Went to go, and as he did so, just simply found first gear and nothing else. And when he went going, well, we're looking behind Kieran Smart there, a lightning launch, and 4 wide there. Andrew Pike being squeezed between the Type 2 racing car and one of the Team Big Lips cars. He had nowhere to go. So Andrew Pike there, I think it feels as though he's been put for a compactor. But in the rear of the picture, Lewis Mason came across and got into contact with Wojciech Swirydowicz, and Swirydowicz there being collected alongside, I believe, was that the car Stuart Winnis? Yes, it was. So it all went wrong between them. Now, could we get the on-board to see what happened there between them? I think we might be able to, but not before we see what happened to Jamie Dory. Now, this was Dory as he went green flag racing. He was towards the very back of the field, and as he did, well, there was an instant further back. Even that was the number 212 of Alan McCain being caught up in contact with Sean Doby, and Dory in the end being collected as part. They had nowhere to go, so that happened between them. Meanwhile, we did of course have this big moment, and this was Swirydowicz getting away, and as he did so here, well, found himself in the squeeze initially. Had a decent start, battling side by side with Isaac Doble. So where did it go wrong? Well, it was here, he backed off, and Lewis Mason then came up around the outside, and Mason in that camera angle, the cut, he's come across the road and gone into contact with Swirydowicz. Not blaming it on Mason, to be fair, we don't quite know, but what we do know is the two coming together, and that led to the madness that unfolded. So that's what happened between them, and then we had this big traffic jam moment on the exit of the hairpin. And this was Joshua Downing battling with Sam Exton, too wide all the way into the hairpin as they made the way onto the brakes. Well, what happened was Exton tried to go around the outside, Downing went deep, they got caught at each other, then suddenly Ben Bennyworth queued up and everyone just piled into the scene in the instant, and well, that was the story. But ladies and gents, we come back to your live circuit side pictures, and as we do, well, right now, all these drivers just tiptoeing back on around, and we're still behind the safety car. I suspect it will be in at the end of this lap. We have had Alex Meredith drop all the way to the back of the field, from what I understand. In fact, no, he's in 20th, but he was caught up in all of that, and therefore he's had repair work done to the car. There he is. And as he makes way along, right now, the number 19 driver, understandably, I think a part of him right now is going to be saying to himself, how did he get to this? And well, to be fair, I think for a lot of drivers there, that was definitely a nasty incident nobody wanted to be a part of. Indeed, a few drivers getting a bit wrong at the start, and well, this circuit, it's definitely looking to be dry, although you do see some quite notable puddles there off of the racing line, indeed in dips in the road, and well, as all drivers queue up there, it won't be too long before we go green flag racing, but as they all get ready to go, right now the field is being brought around at a tiptoe pace. This will not be helping any of the slick runners, and Jamie Dory is on the slick tyre, it should be reminded. And remember, he did have that small prang at the start, but he's not coming for repairs. He's going to see if he can do this on the slick. He's one of only 3 drivers on the slick tyre, the other one being his teammate of Gavin Garner, and Michael Lease is currently being repaired in the pit lane. So the thought process here is, if he can get some heat in that tyre, Dory could suddenly try to steal this race away. And given the length of the pit stop here, well, you will not see any driver able to come in immediately to react. But meanwhile, it's now going to be game reactions as Craig Twardock gets ready to take the field. Green flag racing going on to lap 5, so we'll have another 11 laps to see us through to the conclusion here at Long Beach, and well, it's definitely been an evening of ups and downs for so many, but will try to be able to end it on his own high. Here they come out the final corner, presuming the safety car is going to peel on in, and when it does, it starts to build a bit of a gap, and as they make the way on down, is it going to pull in? No, we are doing another lap behind the safety car. So I thought we would have been pulling in, but I suspect then, well, that's got to be because we are waiting for Gardner to catch up to the field win distance. So they're going to do one more lap. I'm just guessing, by the way. I don't know what exactly is going on in the race direction booth at the moment, but the only thing I can presume is Gardner's out there. Lease is still in the pit lane being repaired. They'll give him one last chance perhaps as well. I don't think we've seen Lease go out there, but we are going to go another lap. Well, this is definitely going to aid the wet runners. This will not help the slick runners because they will not be getting any tyre temperature. And also it means the water will not be redistributed that rapidly. But as Marcel Fritsch makes his way on down, a few drivers here, I think just having to take it nice and easy going into that braking zone. And well, somehow Carl Thompson picked up a slow down. And I believe that maybe he's just gone into the pit exit line coming out to turn number 1. And well, he's not going to have to worry about that because he has burned that slow down quite quickly. So, understandably, drives right now, just trying to make sure they keep some tyre temperature. The wet runners won't really have that problem, to be fair, although they do have to do a little bit of weaving, as Craig Twardock does exactly that. And we'll leave on an Adrian Fitch queue up behind him. We're going to take a quick sip of water, ladies and gentlemen, before we do go green flag racing again. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as the field make the way down the backstretch, everyone almost ready now to restart this race. And as they do, well, everyone will be salivated at the prospect of trying to hunt down places, but we will now have 10 laps remaining. We're still well within the 30-minute window to complete this race. And you can see that the safety car has been told it's going. The field's been told the safety car will be in this lap. And Craig Twardock there, now just taking it nice and easy through the last couple of corners. But as he comes through, in towards turn number 9, then towards 10. Well, he's going to wait to build up the speed, and he will choose when to go. I suspect it's going to be on the exit of the final corner. As he makes way out, the safety car will head into the pit lane. Twardock cues the ball up. He makes them wait a little bit longer. He doesn't go immediately. He's allowed to wait. He's allowed to go any time after the safety car's into the pit lane, but before the start line. And there he goes. We are green once again. Craig Twardock goes for it. And as they roar the one down, well, right now, the whole field bunches up behind. They've all lost out. A brilliant restart there from Twardock. catching Lee Horn and Adrian Fritsch by surprise. And Fritsch under pressure here from Adam Wilson-Weir, who looks up the inside immediately. And well, Fritsch, I think, is just going to let this go. He does not need to fight for these places, as Andrew Pike looking for a move on Matthew Sheraton. That's not going to work initially. Further back, we do have Roy Plummer being passed here by Stuart Winnis. Winnis up the inside. Plummer in third place, by the way, in the AM class. He's going to be swarmed a bit as Jack Pitters dives up the inside. Everyone's queuing up all over the back. Tap to the rear there of Plummer's car by Bennyworth, and he'll get away with that just about. And well, as Bennyworth now squeezes wound through, I think he's going to be relegated down the field quite quickly. But to be fair, he'll be focusing on the AM positions rather than the overall positions. As Alex Meadow up the inside, and that's Benjamin Gregory turns side, spins into the tyre barrier, clips entirely for it. Well, that was completely unexpected. And as he now comes back up to speed, well, I think he's even going to be shocked to that one. And as he makes his way down, well, Sam Exton making his way up the inside, and Benjamin Gregory being sent for a spin back in the right direction, and Roy Plummer has got some damage on his car, which means he's got a meatball flag. I don't know how he's managed to achieve that. We'll get a replay of that when we can. But Marcel Fritsch here too wide with Lewis Mason. Mason up the inside, a small bit of side-to-side contact between them, and this is the battle for full place in the AM class as they make the way down the back stretch. Roaring the wound down as they do. Mason here defending hard, and Fritsch right now. Can he outpace Mason into the braking zone? Not quite, and Mason will beat him on the brakes there as they roll off and then up towards turns 10 and 11. But the fighting definitely getting thick and fierce. Further back, sitting amongst all of your AM drivers, we do see Mark Kent still ahead there of George Stone with Nigel Stock for good company, but go for the hairpin. That's going to be too wide there. Exton and Marcel Fritsch, and he'll get through. Oh, there's a car. Oh, that's gone very wrong. That's Roy Plummer and Nick Clibbins. Now, we know that Plummer had damage to the car, but how on earth has Clibbins ended up there? I'm not quite sure. But I tell you one thing, that is not a normal place you see a big incident, but that is a huge jump between them, and I believe Sean Dowie might have been caught up in a bit of that as well. But Craig Twylock carried on, with Horn and Wilson-Weir behind, Matthew Sheraton now into fourth, and Adrian Fritsch down to fifth. But to be fair, he's prioritising place in class. As meanwhile, Fraser Roston, second of your AMs, he's got Ben Bennyworth for close company behind. And well, that's a car going a little bit slow there. That's Stuart Winnis on the inside coming out of four, and I suspect that might be a loss of traction there. That's just simply cost him a bit of momentum. But still, Dory and also Garner are both struggling on the slick tyres at the moment. They're not gaining places. They are losing time and places at the moment. So this circuit not quite optimal for the slicks yet. But there could be a crossover point soon. And when that crossover point comes, that's what they'll be eagerly waiting for. But of course, when they then battle, they'll need to battle on the dry patch of the circuit. That's not easy, because all Wet Runner needs to do is simply just force you onto the wet line and say the slick tyre runner can't make a move, which will be quite easy on the street circuit. Ben Bennyworth there. Up the inside of Fraser Rostons for 15th place. He's going to go for it, and just like that, click, and it's done. But understanding Rostons not really wanting to fight it too hard. Meanwhile, Marcel Fritsch, he leads the run of 4th through to 8th in the AM class as they get ready to go into the braking zone. George Stone close there, braking a bit later, and in the end sweeps around the outside. Great reactions there from George Stone, side by side with Fritsch now, heading through the left-hander at turn number 10, and that's going to be a move made there by George Stone. A brilliant move being made, and Nigel Stock and Sean Dowie queue up behind. We've got a couple of drivers into the pits, including Carl Thompson and Alex Meredith, plus Alan McCain. As they all coming in, Wojciech Swirydowicz meanwhile up to 16th place, recovering after what was that absolutely horrendous start and the incident involving himself, Lewis Mason and company. But right now, your number 80 driver making his way forward. Let's see if he can salvage some points out this one. One more place gained, and he will be into a points-paying position in the overall championship standings. But back to the front, Craig Twylock and Lee Horn, they fight their way in towards turn number 6. And you see that Adam Wilson-Weir getting a little bit eager on the brake pedal as we ride on board here with your number 4 driver. And coming down the braking zone in towards turn number 8 now, through that right-hander here, and well, fighting for the Pro-Am win as much as the overall win, with the added filler there of Lee Horn in the Pro class, separating himself from Craig Twylock at the moment. But he's not really thinking about that. He'll be thinking about the man at the very front who he wants to get past. But of course, he's running out of time. We have got 7 laps to go after this one, and well, we're already over half the race distance, although the majority of the first half of the race spent behind the safety car. But as they roll the way on through right now, well, Wilson-Weir taking his time to do this, but he hasn't got all the time in the world. Further back, we do see Adrian Fritsch let another place go to Andrew Pike, releases that, and decides that right now it's just simply his prerogative to make sure he doesn't get into too many fights. As we do see Joe Coffin, Kieran Smart, Ben Ultrier, Andy Fox and Stuart Winnis behind. And for Andy Fox right now, well, race number 1 had a bit of a difficulty to it. Race number 2 was a nightmare, and right now it does seem as though the NXTGEN Racing Orange driver, in his third attempt here at Long Beach Day, he's having a bit of a happier race this time out. Still trying to find place. He's currently 6th place in Pro-Am, and his target will be Kieran Smart in front, and Stuart Winnis gets a bit close on the braking that time around. But in terms of battles further back, Nigel Stock on the charge here after Marcel Fritsch, heading down towards turn number 1. And as we ride on board here with the Iris Esports powered by Crest Autosport 98, looking to the inside there, will he go for the brakes? Yes, he will. He goes all in. Will it be too wide on entry? Will it be too wide on the exit? The answer is yes, it will. Although in the end, Nigel Stock gets the better exit initially, but Fritsch will be on the inside into the fountain. And Stock goes around the outside there. Brave move from the 98 driver, but that's now moved on to 5th place, the AM class. Lovely overtake there. And Marcel Fritsch will even give him a round of applause for that one inside the car. But meanwhile, Sean Doby now looks at this and thinks about how he can potentially make a move. And right now it seems as though Marcel Fritsch is going to be gradually knocked down the order by his peers. Of course, Sean Doby here having to wait for an opportunity. A little bit loose on the brakes there, but this Elantra has proven itself to be one of those cars where by under braking it seems to be very slidey in the wet, but it has a lot of pace inside it. So as he comes through at turn number 8, he'll be having to use that pace, but not if he hits the wall and exit there, and that's going to be a big knock to the front left, although it didn't look too big. And probably one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that will be a scary one. And well, he'll be now asking the team, essentially, has he got any damage to the car? And they'll try and read some data off, particularly with regards to the front left tyre pressure. But meanwhile, back to the front, onto lap number 10 we go. And Craig to go defensively. Horn trying to put for a move on him on the outside. Not going to work this time. Matthew Sheraton, 4 seconds behind, but he's building up a head of steam. And if the top 3 continue to fight, he will be with them before the night is done. Andrew Pike, 1.5 seconds behind, is also trying to close. The pace of the race at the front is definitely building up. And what about your slick runners? Well, here's Gavin Gardner at the moment in 26th place. Well, Carl Thompson chasing him, and Garner's pace at the moment is not strong enough. He runs very deep there at turn number 9 and releases places to both Thompson and Kent. So it shows the slick tyre is not optimal at the moment at all. And well, he and Jamie Dory, the teammates, are both struggling at the moment. In fact, so much so that Jamie Dory has been forced a lap down. But Jack Pittus, meanwhile, looking to battle here with Matthew Jordan and Ben Bennyworth. And I think he will just clear the pair of them before he does get to turn 6. Ben Bennyworth there finding Wojciech Swirydowicz trying to go around the outside and to get the inside of 8. And that's exactly what Swirydowicz is going to do here. Onto the brakes. And well, your number 80 driver, lovely move from him and into 14th place. So now potentially earning 2 points in this race. Can he gain any more? He's the fastest driver on the circuit at the moment, the only driver who has put together a lap in the 1 minute 29, other than Stuart Winnis at 29.64 to be fair, but otherwise Swirydowicz at 29.46, the fastest lap that he has set, and he is absolutely storming out there at the moment, as Sam Exton has also found a 29.88 on the previous lap, so there is more pace coming, but only certain drivers seem to be able to unlock it, and Exton, for going so quickly, has picked up a slowdown penalty that he served off camera. Meanwhile, Swirydowicz continues to push forward. Next target, Jordan then. What will he do down the start-finish straight? We ride on board with the second place man in the championship. And we're looking one way, then the other. And the Project 26 Valvatore Change driver looking up the inside. Here he goes onto the brakes. And I think this is going to be a straightforward pass. As long as he gets it stopped in time, he'll be fine. Matthew Jordan then took the pit exit as his line. And that's why he's picking the slow down. And he's going to get that place. Plus also potentially lose some time to Ben Bennyworth from behind. And that will be for 9th place in the prime class at this rate. But as their battle carries on, we do look back to the front, and here is Lee Horn looking around the outside of Craig Twardock into turns 6 and 7. Doesn't quite make it move that time, but still Twardock having to fight hard, and Horn on the inside here. It's going to be a very narrow entry line. They've got Roy Plummer for traffic in front, who they're going to put a lap down. And at this point, oh, it's contact between the two, and sends Plummer to the wall. And in the end, Twardock, I think, wanted to get clear. I think he felt as though he's being boxed in by Horn. Horn trying to use lap down driver as a little bit of a steering for what was the battle. And in the end, Horn does get ahead, but not without contact with Twardock. And Adam Wilson, we're accused up on the back of this. He looks to move in towards turn number 10. And the door's going to be shut firmly in his face. We'll go down in towards turn 11 at the moment. The Type 2 racing driver here, well, he's got an itch to scratch. He wants that win, but he's having to be very tactical about it here because patience is a virtue. And Craig Twardock right now absolutely fired up as they go on to lap number 12. So 4 more to go, and Wilson Weir, who we ride on board with, still thinking about the overall win just as much as the prime win. Coming down towards the next braking zone. Will he go for it here? It's turn 1. He's going to go late on the brakes, very late there. He's going to tap the rear of Twardock very briefly, but they'll get away with that. But that goes to show you that Wilson Weir right now has the confidence of the brakes of the car, but he's still got to be careful. That concertina effect is no joke in terms of how close they do end up getting to each other as he rolls all over the back of the 200 driver through turn number 4. And looking into turn 5, well, Wilson Weir right now feeling confident. I suspect the contact between Twardock and Horn has damaged both cars, and Twardock might be struggling a little bit right now with regards to the handling characteristics of his Honda. Wilson Weir's velocity will in absolutely clean and pristine condition, and therefore he's got a bit of a stronger car at this point in the race. While further back, Swirydowicz now trying to pick off Jack Pitters for 11th place. He's going to go around the outside to try and do this, or is he? No, he swaps to the inside. Onto the brakes they both go. And, well, Pitters will release that place, and Swirydowicz moves into 11th. So, right now, the Project 26 ATC driver, the only representative on the grid today, is absolutely putting this all together. And, well, oh, that's Roy Plummer going sideways, and Swirydowicz there has a near miss. My good lord. And, well, that is very fortunate there. Well done in terms of his reactions. Well done to everybody involved in that one. That could have been an absolutely heinous moment, but it was not. And in the end, Roy Plummer surviving that one just as much as the rest. He did well to make sure that car did not go spinning around. But further back, Benjamin Gregory makes the one past Andy Fox, who relinquishes the place there for 12th in the prime class. And it does seem as though Gregory had a bit more pace at this point as Plummer steps aside and tries to let them all go through. George Stone, meanwhile, he's still fighting here with Andy Fox. He wants that place for overall position. He wants 20th, and well, he'll sneak on through there. And Fox right now has got no pace because he's got damage to the car. He's got a meatball flag assigned to him, and I believe it's a broken front right suspension. The axle has collapsed, and he's coming into the pit lane. But they go on to the next lap. And Altria, oh, hold up, that's Joe Coffin. Coffin into the barrier there at turn number 1. And, well, the number 136 driver falls down the order. And, well, as quickly as we could go for a replay, I think we are going to stay with all the racing action all the way to the end live, ladies and gentlemen, just because at any month there could be a bit more drama here, and we have definitely seen plenty of drama at Long Beach, and right now there's even more to come potentially. We have got there that dry line. Look at how pronounced that is now, and we'll understand that your slick runners might be starting to find a bit more time out there, although Gardner really yet to hit a big lap. Here he is, and Jamie Dory's just in front of him going on to another lap. And what's the lap time this time around? Well, for Jamie Dory, that was a 33.82. Meanwhile, for Gavin Gardner, it's going to be, as he crossed that time in line, it will be a 34.35. So still, we are not in slick conditions yet. We're not going to see slicks really become the viable tyre, even at the very end of the race here, as our leaders get ready to go onto the penultimate lap. It's still Horn ahead of Twardock and Wilson Weir, your top 3 as they were, and the gap to Matthew Sheraton now up to 4 seconds. They are bolting away from Sheraton, who you can see is they're bringing the next trio along with him of himself, Pike and Smart, and then we do a 2.5 second gap to Altria, who has got Coffin and Winnis behind him, and then it is Adrian Fritsch and Wojciech Swirydowicz together. But Adrian Fritsch, to be fair, this is a very mature drive from him in the face, holding on to the AM lead and just gradually giving up places little by little. He's playing it smart in the way he's driving this one. He's not fighting anyone unless he absolutely needs to. As we do see Andy Fox leave in the pit lane, he'll be in the outside going towards turn 1, and Fritsch will need to negotiate that as Swirydowicz comes on through. And oh, goodness me! And Fox again a little bit of a loose exit there, taps the side of Adrian Fritsch's car, and Fritsch there having a big scare, but he seems to be okay. And as they make the way through the fountain section, my goodness, this race right now on absolute tenterhooks, it's going to be too wide. Moses manoeuvre there, and Isaac Dole goes around the outside but contact with Pitters, and in the end they head in towards turn number 5. He all runs Joshua down and flashes his headlights at the back there. He's not too pleased about something, but Doble and Pitters right now, side by side, all the way down towards the braking zone for turn number 6. And as they head on to the anchors, Isaac Doble on the inside, I think he's going to get this move done. He will, and Jack Pitters has to give it up there and loses out in 12th place, at least for a brief moment. And the fighting's never over until the race is its checker flag. And right now, understandably, all these drivers push each other. Joshua Downing queues up behind the group there, with Matthew Jordan having a huge run out to turn number 8 and looking to go on the attack versus Ben Beddyworth, but you see equidistant between each car, and therefore no real opportunity, and everyone has to be neutralised in the way, and they'll be waiting for the next chance to go for a move. But meanwhile, we look back to George Stone on the back of Fraser Rostance for second place in the AM class. Not close enough to go for it into turn number 9, but definitely thinking about it going on to the final lap. And speaking of which, we are now seeing our leaders head down towards turn 1 for the final time today. Lap 15 of 15 of this one. And as he comes through the opening corner, Lee Horn right now is only a lap away from returning to an overall win. Craig Twardock looking for that prime win ahead of Adam Wilson Weir. And I'll tell you one thing, with Twardock taking this win, this will completely shuffle the prime standings, and it could see him right back on top going into our next round in 2 weeks' time. And well, it'll be crazy to think when we do head to Sonoma, the prime category in particular will be so tight with 3 rounds to go. It's anybody's guess who's going to win that championship fight. As these drivers head on in, that top 3 does look a little bit spaced out, and Matthew Sheraton, 3rd at the moment in the prime class. Well, these points will be absolutely invaluable to him, and his hope will be he can get this together. But was that Andrew Pike just hitting a barrier there at turn number 6 on the inside? Car looks okay, he's going defensive. I think it was just skidding sideways there. And Pite holding on for 5th place at the moment. The car looks okay or thereabouts. I think there is some bodywork damage on the rear left, but don't quote me on it. Flashes headlights there towards Sheraton, but I think that's more as a distraction than anything else. As they all call him down, Matthew Jordan side by side defending versus Joshua Downing for 9th place in Pro-Am. But we must come back to your leaders, ladies and gents, because they segue the way through turn 10 and in towards the hairpin. Well, for Lee Horn, he may have started in 9th place, but he found his way out the field quite quickly. And whilst it may have been Swirydowicz who took the wins in races 1 and 2, Lee Horn returns to the top step in race number 3, heading off Pro-Am winner Craig Tardog, who held on to Avon Wilson-Weir, who takes runner-up in Pro-Am and 3rd on the overall podium. Matthew Sheraton rounds off the Pro-Am podium there in 4th, just ahead of Andrew Pike, who completes the run to the top 5 ahead of Kieran Smart, and it'll be Ben Altritt in 7th ahead of Stuart Wallace, Joe Coffin, Wojciech Swirydowicz, and then this man, Adrian Fritsch, makes it 2 wins in the AM class back-to-back, and a 11th place finish just loses out to Swirydowicz right at the end, but keeping Isaac Dole behind, so scoring some major overall points as well for him and the team in the Team's Championship for WS Racing Esports. Isaac Dole will take the 12th place, behind was Jack Pitters, and meanwhile, behind them, we can see in 18th place, George Stone there, 2nd in the AM class. A huge result to end this day on a relative high after the difficulties of the day. Fraser Rostance back on the AM podium once again, 3rd in class, ahead of Nigel Stock, who did well to recover to a top 5 finish at AM, but could not quite find his way onto that podium with Lewis Mason just behind, and he decides to go straight on there and park up in the escape area. Then it will be Sean Dobie taking 6th place in AM, 22nd on the road, ahead of Marcel Fritsch and Mark Kent. And well, our last finish of this race will be the slick running car of Gavin Gardner, and in the end, on his final lap of the race, I suspect the slick tyre was about to transition into the optimum window. It was started to get within a second of the wet tyre, but unfortunately it was a gamble that had to be made, but it was a gamble that did not pay off. And as our drivers do cool them down, well, Lee Horn, Craig Twaddock and Adam Wilson-Weir will make the way into the pit lane. And Twaddock in particular will be very eager to get out of that car and celebrate with the TSRC team. But what a race to wrap up our proceedings here at Long Beach, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we did have a safety car, but to be fair, we also got to see some absolutely brilliant racing. And well, the conditions favouring the wet tyre once again, but all the drivers putting on a brilliant show. And well, George Stone with that 2nd place in AM, not quite the win, but 9, there'll be some very valuable points coming his way. But to be fair, if Adrian Fritsch can make it wins like this and make it more regular podium visits, there's no reason why the number 16 driver cannot become a factor in the AM Championship fight. And it's a 2 wins in 3 races, his first 2 wins in his NXTCC career in a class, and I think he'll be absolutely overjoyed with that. Unfortunate that his teammate and his father Marcel Fritsch could not find a way to try and make it a double podium for the team in either of the races, but to be fair, they've got plenty more opportunities to do so as the season goes on. But I do believe as Alan McCain currently struggling to move along, I think that car's got a lot of damage. Well, he will be classified as a finisher of this race either way. And with that, we take a look at the race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as we can see, after our final 15 laps of racing here today for round number 7 of Season 10 of the NXTCC, brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles, Lee Horn, your winner for Next Gen Orange, returning to the top. It's been quite some time since we've taken an overall win, but we finally see him do so. And what, a second ahead of the Sim Racing Collective Esports is Craig Tardog, your Pro-Am winner. Adam Wilson-Weir missed out on the overall win and also the Pro-Am win, but he did take an overall top 3 and went 2nd place in the Pro-Am class of Type 2 racing. He was only 7 tenths behind his main class rival, but he was well clear of Matthew Sheraton, who took 4th and went the final spot on the Pro-Am podium. Behind the Aztec Racing driver, it was then Andrew Pike in 5th, the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver being a 2nd behind after fighting his way up into 5th place and keeping Kieran Smart behind him. The Track Scotland driver definitely hurried him and pushed him as much as possible, but could not find a way through to 5th, and then Ben Altritt at 7th place there for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport was 1.5 seconds behind. Stuart Winnis took 8th ahead of Joe Coffin, and the Track Scotland driver making sure that Coffin could not find a way through at the very end, with the team Big Lips driver being followed up by Wojciech Swirydowicz, who after how the race started with that huge instant down the start finish straight, I don't think he's going to quite believe that he managed to take 10th place and bring home some very valuable points. But still, the Project 26 for ATC driver definitely did that, and he was ahead of Adrian Fritsch, taking back-to-back AM wins from races 2 and 3, and then Fritsch just prioritising making sure he survived the race, and goodness me did he have a few scares for WS Racing Esports. Isaac Doble was 12th there for Double Sim Racing, having difficulty making progress and also some big movements and mistakes midway through, but then we did see Jack Pitters in 13th for Type 2 Racing, ahead of Matthew Jordan for Next Gen Ping, and Joshua Downing 15th overall, taking the final overall points paying position. The Type 2 Racing driver was then followed up by Benjamin Gregory and Ben Beddyworth, with George Stone leading the rest of the AMs, taking home second place in class, 18th overall for Type 2 racing, ahead of Next Gen Blue's Fraser Ostens, making it another AM podium to his credit. Nigel Stock was a further 2 seconds behind, but wasn't quite able to close the gap to Ostens at the very end. And then we did see behind him outside the top 20, it was 21st to Lewis Mason for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, ahead of Sean Doby, with the 8 racing driver 3 seconds behind, but still 6 tenths clear of Marcel Fritsch. And then we did see Mark Kent 24th. It was then 25th place for Cole Thompson, ahead of Gavin Gardner, who was your last lead lap finisher. And we did have a lap down there for Sam Exton, Andy Fox and Jamie Dorey. 2 laps down to Roy Plummer, 4 down to Nick Clibbins. And then sadly, we had non-finishers as classified for Alan McCain, Alex Meredith and Michael Lease. But with that, ladies and gents, and that concludes our rundown of the results from our final race today. And I suspect there will be a few stewards' investigations in each of the races with regards to incidents. Those results are definitely not final. But I'll tell you one thing, all the racing here today has definitely been finalised. And that means this broadcast is almost complete. But no NXTCC broadcast would be complete without some post-round interviews. So we're going to step away for approximately 5 minutes. But when we come back, we'll get to hear from a choice selection of our drivers about their thoughts on racing at Long Beach today. And I get the feeling they're going to have some choice words to say about the thrills, the spills, and the excitement that California has definitely delivered. So therefore, don't go away. You won't miss the upcoming interviews. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get our post-round interviews underway. And we're going to be kicking off by speaking to none other than your pro driver, Alex Meredith, who now gets ready to join me in the interview room. In fact, he joins me now. And well, without further ado, good evening to you, Alex. And what a day of racing from yourself. For the most part, a brilliant day minus race number 3. But you looked like you had a lot of fun out there at Long Beach.
Yeah, good evening, Paul. Nice to see you again. It's been a while. Yeah, it was a really good race. Night for race 1 and 2. I honestly just had so much fun being back in the NXTCC again. Race 3 didn't go to plan, but honestly, I don't really mind. It was just a really enjoyable night, honestly.
Well, a very enjoyable night for yourself, and it started off with quite a strong performance in qualifying, 8th overall. I mean, you looked quite happy with that lap.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do too much practice, and this is the first time I've kind of driven these cars with the new updates. They've changed them a lot. So yeah, I was really happy wherever I came, but yeah, 8th, top 10, really not too bad.
Well, a very solid qualifying performance, and again, like you say, getting used to the new model for these TCR cars. And well, if qualifying was any representation of how you would do it in the race, we saw you put together a brilliant drive for 4th place, and you were just getting quicker and quicker in race 1.
Yeah, I was honestly just really enjoying the car. Just getting more used to it. I mean, it handled beautifully after like kind of 5 laps. It just kind of the tires must have settled in or something, but I just had so much grip, and it was really nice to drive. And then as the rain hit right at the end, I just felt quicker than everybody around me. It might sound egotistical, but I just had lots of grip.
And indeed, just on that, I mean, we saw you have so much grip. You were flying when the rain arrived. I mean, it does seem as though even on those slick tyres, you were just finding time. Would you put it down to the fact as well, we did see a lot of drivers around you running, say, the Honda, the Audi, or even the Elantra. Your Veloster, I mean, the Veloster in general seems to be one of those cars where it just gets quicker the more changing the conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I've always struggled in the wet with the Veloster since I moved from the Elantra, but something about the update must have changed that, because it was feeling brilliant, even on the slicks. And we did it last night as well. We did a warm-up where it was going from dry to wet, and even then it felt brilliant.
Well, it felt brilliant in race number 1, and in race number 2, you went even further, going from 4th to 2nd place, and almost taking the win in the end of Wojciech Swirydowicz, but not quite able to make it happen.
Yeah, race 2 was really solid. I had some really nice battles. Very nearly crashed into Isaac. Kind of halfway through the race, that was a little bit scary. At the start, I was kind of behind Gavan, and I couldn't really get past him at all. And then I just found a small little gap. I was like, no, I'm going for it. Got my braking right, got the line right, and got past him. And then later in the race, I was catching up to Ben at one point by a second a lap, just before the safety car. So I knew I was quicker than him. So then, yeah, I just took the same kind of a similar opportunity against him. Yeah. And then Wojciech was just too far ahead. But yeah, really happy with second.
Well, a brilliant 2nd place, but unfortunately for all the great performances in races 1 and 2, race number 3, it looked to have started quite well with the top 15 reverse grid, but then a bit of a traffic jam at the hairpin brought it to a crashing halt.
Yeah, race 3 was just so unfortunate. I think I had some really good pace once again in race 3. Start was pretty good. Got a little bit bottlenecked at turn 1, but it was fine. I got into P12, making up positions. Got into P10, and then yeah, safety car was called, and then for some reason everybody just sent it into the hairpin, which in normal racing conditions nobody would do, but because it was a safety car, I guess people wanted to get ahead of each other, and it just caused absolute carnage. And yeah, I had damage, so it sent me further back.
Well, it was an unfortunate end, really, to what was a great day of racing for yourself, because after that, we never really got to see you make your way back up there. But the fact that we've got to see you back on the grid after some time away has been absolutely fantastic. And can we expect you to be on the grid for the remaining rounds?
I certainly hope so. It's looking that way. the last couple of months has been so hectic. But yeah, it's looking like it will be, and I hope I am, because yeah, really nice to kind of speak to everybody again. I love this community. It's honestly it's so brilliant on a Tuesday night to do this. And yeah, I really hope I am.
Well, we do hope so as well, because it's not quite the same. We don't have you out on the grid, Alex. You're one of our stars, no doubt about it. And as I get ready to let you go, if you do make it to the grid next time out, how would you be feeling for the Sonoma circuit?
Oh, is it Sonoma? Oh, okay. That's an interesting one. I think we did that a long time ago. Season 3, I think, possibly. And yeah, I didn't like it at first, but I think I got used to it, so I'm sure I'll get used to it again. Yeah, I'm hoping to be on there, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, hopefully we'll see you at Sonoma. But lastly, as always, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on the broadcast?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, my parents, who every time I do this, they're always watching, always supporting. Extremely grateful for them. Anybody else kind of watching as well, it's greatly appreciated. Really helps NXTGEN progress as a league. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And of course, you as well, Paul, for your fantastic commentary. Although I haven't been racing, I have been tuning in sometimes to the races just to see what's going on, and it's always super entertaining to watch.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Well, to be fair, you've definitely helped bring the entertainment today in a brilliant way, and with a great set of results. We do hope to see you back on the grid for the remainder of the season, or the rounds at least you can make. But until then, we'll long for you to return. Congratulations on your podium in race number 2 and a brilliant start today in race number 1. Hope to see you in the future, but until then, savour the results and have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, Paul. You too.
So here and there for Alex Meredith, ladies and gentlemen. He's back once again, just like that, and hopefully we get to see a bit more from him. But of course, he's been very busy, and understandably, every so often, a driver comes and goes, but they're never forgotten about in the NXTCC. Indeed, that's why we're very happy to see him back. And talking out there, the fact that when the rain arrived in race number 1, he felt the pace was just getting quicker and quicker in the car, where others were struggling. And we saw that in race number 2 as well. And this is his first outing since the revision of the TCR model with regards to the physics engine and the tyres. And, well, I'll tell you one thing. If Alex Meredith was on the grid for this entire season, I think he'd be up there taking on the very best route. So it does seem as though right now he's just been held back a little bit there, but nonetheless, with the rounds that are remaining, he's looking forward to Sonoma potentially if he can make that. And he's right, the last time we visited Sonoma was our first ever visit there in season 3, but the circuit has definitely evolved since there were a major rescan. And if he is there, I do wonder whether he might be able to take an overall win, or indeed where he might be able to make it multiple podiums over the day. Well, that's to ponder on the future, but we stay in the present now, ladies and gentlemen, and very shortly we'll be back for our second interview of the day. And we head from the Pro class to the AM class, ladies and gentlemen, because joining me now in the interview room is the man we spoke to before race number 3. It is Adrian Fritsch. Adrian, good evening to you once again. 2 wins back to back today, plus also a 7th place in race 1. It's your best round of the season so far. You must be so happy.
At first, good morning, Paul, as always. I think it was 6th place in the first race, when I'm not all wrong, but yeah, it was a great evening for me. I'm still full of adrenaline.
Oh, fantastic. Well, the adrenaline absolutely flying high. And coming into this round, in qualifying, we saw you take 5th place in the AM class, 29th on the grid. Were you happy with your qualifying lap?
Yeah, I have to work till 10 o'clock normally, so I got back earlier from work and just couldn't train. My qualifying was my training, so I think I'm very happy with the lap. My fastest lap got deleted because I hit slightly the wall, but it counts. So for me it was a great qualifying too.
Well, a great qualifying tool, a great qualifying session, and using it as practice, like you say. And then in race number 1, a bit of a difficult race for yourself in the end. I think there was an instant or two which you were near, and it meant you couldn't quite make the progress you wanted.
Yeah, the touch with Michael Lees was a bit difficult also for me because I was fighting with Luis and it was a relatively close battle. I overtook him in the last corner, then he overtook me, and I hoped that Michael stayed out of the fight. But yeah, it happens, and I recovered relatively good from that.
Well, a decent recovery after that. And then race number 2. What a drive from yourself from, I believe, what was 32nd all the way through to 13th place, and with it the AM win. I mean, I know we talked about it briefly earlier on, but it's crazy. Your best performance of the season.
Yeah, that's I don't really know what happened in this race that it went so beautifully. So yeah, I took just the right opportunities and searched my path through the whole field. Even if they crash, always had luck and had a path through the incidents. So yeah, it was quite going really well.
Oh, what a brilliant drive there. And the same applied in race number 3. Of course, starting third, we did see you gradually fall down the order. I get the feeling your plan was just to focus on the AM win and let the places go.
Yeah, I just wanted to live and drive and see the checkered flag because it has, for me, no sense if I block a pro or a pro AM whereas these are fighting, because it would have been the same situation as Michael Lee. So I tried to stay out of every fight, and I had a gap of 2 seconds in front of me and behind me, and yeah, I think I really did a great job at the third race too.
Oh, I'll say you did a fantastic job in race number 3. 2 wins, a big haul of points in the AM class today. 3 rounds remain. Do you think you might be able to take the AM title?
I think the title is a bit far off, but I'm very hard working to get third and catch George Stone, because yeah, he's also 30 points ahead of me, and that's I think the realistic goal I set myself, to be third at AM class, but we'll see how that goes.
Oh, fair play. And heading into our next round, Sonoma is next. What can we expect from you there?
That's difficult track, definitely. I have to train a lot more than I did for this race, because I also didn't drive that track with this car yet, so I fully have to learn it. And yeah, I hope it's sunny weather, because normally I drive better with sunny weather, and then I hope a third place.
Well, we look forward to seeing you take on Sonoma in 2 weeks' time and see whether you can continue success from Long Beach. But just before I do let you go, is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out or a mention to on the broadcast?
Of course, all the driver on the grid who was, for me, fairly racing today. Was none that stood out. But also you, Paul, for the great commentary. I like to rewatch the streams a lot, and it helps me also gain knowledge from other drivers, how they drive, how I can fight with them. And for today, my mom, who is very briefly supporting me with everything, to work, to free time. So yeah, big shout out to them.
Oh, well, Adrian, it's been an absolute blast having you in the interview room. Well done today on your first 2 wins in your AM career in the NXTCC. It's been incredible, and we do hope to see your success continue in the rounds that remain. But until Sonoma, we wish you a lovely rest of the evening. Savour the moment and remember it fondly, because it only comes once, your first win in the season. You've earned it, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you very much, and great evening you too.
Look at this for you, ladies and gentlemen. Adrian there, he may be tired. I think it is past midnight where he is. But to be fair, the results day have been worth staying up for. No doubt about it. And so happy. I mean, you can hear it on him. He's a bit emotional as well, I think. And well, supported by his mother, also supported by his dad, Marcel. And understand, I think right now, all the effort has been worth it. It's that feeling of taking your first win. And he mentioned himself that he didn't know how he did it, going from 32nd to 13th. And well, there were so many parts in there. The thing that's so really notable about Adrian is the fact, as you mentioned, he doesn't always have time to practice. He has to use qualifying for practice. But when he does, he focuses on staying out of trouble. It has been his key strength, much like his dad, Marcel. Marcel's been on the grid now for, if my memory serves me correctly, 5 seasons, perhaps even longer than that. In fact, I want to say 6 seasons, but Marcel's always had a reputation, focus on staying clean and consistent, and then find the pace. And Adrian is the embodiment of that. He's the Mark II of it. And, well, he found all the pace today in these conditions, as much consistency, and that's what led to him having that big score. Sonoma is a circuit you'll need to get familiar with, but if he should do so, I suspect his dreams of perhaps taking a top 3 in the AM Championship could very much be realised. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a couple more interviews to come. We're stepping away for a brief moment, but don't worry, it's not too long before we're back once again. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for our next interview, we make our way back to the pro class. And joining me now in the interview room is none other than the legendary Lee Horn. Lee, good evening to you. And well, it's great to have you back in the interview room after a long time. And today, a solid day for yourself. Race number 1, perhaps we jump over that, but races 2 and 3, some big scores, including a win in the final race.
Yeah, good evening, Paul. It has been a while indeed since I've been up in here. It's not obviously been performing to be able to warrant coming in, and not really wanting to because I haven't been performing. So it's a bit of a but not been too great this season. But yeah, tonight really sort of made up for it. Like you say, quick skim over race 1 because I went from 13th to 30th. Sorry, 13th to 30th, something like that. For that, so that wasn't so good. But then in the dry, but when the rain came out, that was seems to be a good for me in the wet. I seem to be able to find my way a lot better. So to go from 29th actually is where the starting good in the end was, and finish P7, I was over the moon. So the bonus of race 1 was just right there.
Oh, indeed. And just before we talk a little bit more about those races, qualifying 13th overall, how do you feel about your qualifying session? Because sometimes we know you've been right at the front, sometimes you've been a little bit further back. This time you're right in the middle of the field.
Yeah, this season's been a bit hit and miss with my qualifying. I've either just proper flunked it through my own doing, or I've done reasonably well and been in the top 10. So to have P13, to be honest, around here after practice yesterday, I wasn't that confident. I didn't feel great around here in the dry. So the first half of qualifying was quite bad, and I didn't really get any laps in, and then I stuffed it in the walls. I had to pit, get a repaired car, and then come back out. So I was a little bit wary about, I really needed to try and get a lap in. So when I put the P13 in, I think it was P12 and then got dropped down, something like that. I was sort of fairly pleased with it. I knew it was going to be difficult and awkward from there, especially not having the confidence in the dry. And unfortunately, yeah, I came a cropper with damage and crashing out. So through my own doing, there's not really anyone else's fault in that instance. And so mid-pack it was.
Well, mid-pack in qualifying, like you say, an instant in race number 1, really torpedoing any chances of some big points there. So let's talk about race 2, 30th to 7th. Explain.
Yeah, well, obviously the rain came out, and I think with the incidents that happened ahead of me, I halved the deficit and got into the teens within that first lap. It really sort of fell well for me. It's in that I was in the right place just to slow down, but then scoot by without any issues. So that sort of halved the deficit a little bit, and then it was just a case of picking off those that were falling off around me, and also driving well and picking a few people off with some good overtakes. So to come in P7, yeah, I was proper chuffed with that. To be fair, I did keep thinking about, I'm going to get weight now, and I'm going to be outside the reverse grid. But I thought, no, I'm just going to see how far forward I can go and see what happens. So yeah, that was a really positive P7 from 30th.
Oh, 100%. A huge result there. And of course, it meant that you were well inside our reverse grid for race number 3, which is the top 15 reverse grid. But even in that, you had to fight your way forwards, and in the end, coming all the way through to take the win.
Yes, well, I'm surprised you probably weren't going pretty mad at me or about what I was doing, because if you remember the start, I got perfect clutch slip. Can't even speak. Clutch slip and really just didn't light the tyres up, pulled away beautifully, went down the inside of everybody and went from P9 to P3 by turn 1. You guys probably all saw it, and I was like, that, what a start. I was proper chuffed with that. So I then had to try and sort of just work on Adrian to try and get past him, and I ended up getting up the inside down the back straight. Nice little clean move there to get into P2, and then it was a case of just sitting on Craig's backside to try and work him out, what he was doing, where I could possibly try and get him, where I was stronger. And as it turned out, and I'm sure you saw on the replay, I ended up using a back marker very cunningly to once I got up the inside quite well, to be fair, but used the old back marker. Roy, sadly, he didn't get out of the way on the other bit, so I came across his inside, and dear old Craig got caught behind and nearly took me out trying to come out from behind him. But it was very exciting, and yeah, well over the moon with the win. It was brilliant.
Oh, a huge way to start the race and a huge way to end the race. And like you mentioned there, the tactical use of Roy Plummer to act as a bit of a blocker to was Craig Todd, but it almost ended in tears, but thankfully it did not. A win then, and well, now 2 weeks' time we head to Sonoma. Can we expect you to be back up there once again?
Well, Sonoma, I haven't been on for a long time, but it's an enjoyable probably one of my more favourite tracks in the list. So as long as I can get some practice time in, because I'm getting a bit older now, and if I don't do any practice, I'm not so good these days. So if I can try and find some practice, then as well as the practice on Monday, then there's a good chance that I might be reasonably competitive. And as usual, I'll be aiming for the top 10 or higher if possible.
Well, we look forward to seeing whether you can find that practice and make it perfect at Sonoma. But just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to, Lee?
Yeah, thank all the guys at NXTGEN, especially Jamie. It's putting all the effort in for running the championship. It's no easy task, and we're a little bit low on the ground with staff at the moment, so he does do quite a bit, dear of him. Thanks to yourself, obviously, for commentating, all our sponsors, and all of fellow competitors for joining in and making this the fun championship it is.
Well, Lee, we have to give you a big thank you for offering up your time to join me for an interview this evening. Congratulations on what has been definitely a very strong performance from yourself. Albeit race number 1 may not have worked out, but it led to a thrilling race number 2 and an absolutely brilliant drive to victory in race number 3. We hope to see you right back up in the thick of it at Sonoma in 2 weeks' time. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you, Paul. Cheers.
So hearing that, ladies and gentlemen, from Lee Horn, our pro driver who absolutely enjoyed himself today, no doubt about it. And, well, glossing over what happened in race number 1 there, understandably not the way he wanted it to go whatsoever, and his race really being curtailed. Much like his qualifying points, in a way, I mentioned the fact there that an innocent mistake, and in the end saw him into the barrier, big damage to the car, and it really ended his qualifying performance where he was able to get the big lap together. So he was on the back foot, and he was on the back foot in race number 1, but a brilliant race number 2, making the most of the chaos that played out in the instance in the early stages to go all the way from 30th to almost inside the top 10, and then after that picking him off one by one in the wet conditions, and it does seem to be his home to find himself in the wet in a Honda that's definitely got plenty of grip out there. And in race number 3, whilst we perhaps didn't wax too lyrical about it at the time when it did happen, his launch that leapt him all the way from 9th to 3rd and found him right in the thick of the lead battle. Well, what an incredible start from Lee Horn, and in the end after that, just having to pick off his rivals one by one, starting with Adrian Fritsch and then concluding with Craig Twardock, although had to work very hard to pass Craig, to be fair, and we're in the end having to use Roy Plummer as a tactical device to make sure he could squeeze on through, although both drivers almost end up in the barriers coming out of turn at number 8 and down the back straight to 9, but thankfully it didn't end in tears, it ended in a positive outcome, and for Lee Horn, a first overall win in some time. Well, ladies and gents, we've got one more interview to come, and we'll be right back for our final interview of tonight. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to our final interview of the evening, and I'm joined by none other than your AM driver from Full Tilt V Motorsport of Lewis Mason. Good evening to you, Lewis. And, well, it's been a tough day, I want to say, for yourself today, but it's ended up with a lot of points coming your way. How would you rate your day out of 10?
I'd say about a 5 or a 6. Spat in the middle.
Well, snap bang in the middle, as we do see the footage of it all going a bit wrong at the start of race number 3. But let's talk about some positives. Qualifying firstly. 25th overall, 3rd in class. Keep in mind, of course, that you did have the maximum weight in the car of 25 kilograms, if I remember correctly. So an impressive qualifying lap.
Yeah, weight really hurt around here. I wasn't really able to find much pace. You could see it in practice as well before. I could have gone a bit quicker. That was my quickest lap right at the end. Could have gone a bit quicker, but just made the most of what I could in qualifying. Wasn't anything spectacular. Wasn't anything drastically bad like out at Watkins last time out.
Well, definitely a bit of a better qualifying points compared to Watkins Glen, but in the races of where it matters. Now, understandably, we did see pole position go a very far way out the field to none other than Nigel Stock, if my memory serves me correctly. And in the end, it had quite a bit of work to do. But come the end of the race, you got to 17th and 2nd in class. Were you a bit surprised with that?
I wouldn't say surprised. I knew that there was going to be places to be gained. I had the faith in myself to keep it clean, and I knew that if I stayed out of trouble, then I'd gain places. But I was surprised at how much I gained. I was hoping a top 20, but I wouldn't expecting a top 20, if you get what I mean. But yeah, it was nice to have gained that much. I think I finished 2nd in class race 1 as well, which was nice. Just finishing ahead of Marcel and George was my main priority for the rest of the season now, and to be able to do that in race 1 just meant that started off the night to a positive.
Now, understandably, I have to ask, because of course I should correct myself, your teammate Mark Kent puts together that absolutely monster pole lap in the AM class. I know there's been a bit of a running joke about Kent for pro, but understanding he was involved in the incident and that helped promote you up a place. Did it feel a bit bittersweet knowing you've taken 2nd, but it has come at the cost technically of your teammate having to fall down the order?
Well, in the VC before the race, when he was all the way up there, I was like, praying as a joke, praying that he was going to crash or whatever, as a joke. And then when I heard that he crashed, I felt a bit bad. Felt that I'd brought it upon him, but it was all good. He had a bit of a rough night, Mark. He couldn't really get much together, and when he did start getting it together, he ended up in an incident. But yeah, when Mark went, I knew that I was moving into 2nd in class, and from then on, it was just trying to chase down Nigel.
Now, you couldn't quite chase down Nigel in race 1, but in race number 2, we saw several incidents play out, and I think some of them you may have been involved in. You still took 3rd in class in the end, but one of those races where I think in the end you're probably just happy to survive it.
Yeah, race 2 was all about surviving, maintaining where I was. Race 2 went a bit wrong, so that first safety car that got called, literally first lap, when we'd come round, because obviously race to the line, when we'd come round to the line, I tapped the brakes as we would come round the corner just so I wasn't flying in towards everyone. And as I did so, I hit a puddle on a white line, and it spun my car. I got it going straight again, tapped the brakes again to slow down a bit more, and then it spun my car again into the barriers. So I got damaged, had to pit. So that was a bit rough, put me all the way to the back, and from then on it was just trying to fight my way back through again.
Well, a very tough moment, but still, the fact that you didn't give up and keep on going, that just goes to show your determination. And we saw even more of that, of course, in race number 3 with the horrendous incident on the start-finish straight when we did go green flag racing, but then still recovering to 5th place in class in the end.
Yeah, so that one off the start, it was just a bit of a misjudgment. I was coming across, Wojciech was coming across, and Stuart was trying to maximise his race start as well. I'm not putting blame on anyone. I've had a chat with Stuart about it. We're all good. We had a bit of a laugh about it, but yeah, after that crash, it was just trying to hope for a safety car to come out, which it did. A bit later than I was expecting, but at least it came out. And then trying to just maximise where I could get after that, trying to get past Marcel, try and get past George, and just make sure that I'm still pulling away from the championship, because that's all that matters at the minute.
Well, you're still gaining ground as championship leader in the AM class. And next up, Sonoma. We complete our American triple header. How are you feeling for the North Californian circuit?
If I'm honest, I've never driven Sonoma before. I don't own it on iRacing, so honestly got no clue how I'll do. From what I've heard, it's not as technical as tonight, which should be all right for me. I mean, tracks that aren't as technical, like Watkins wasn't a technical track, and I did all right around there. So the less technical tracks that are a bit more flowy, I usually do all right at. So I guess we'll see.
Oh, fair play. We look forward to seeing whether you can conquer Sonoma and make more ground in the championship. But just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on the broadcast?
Obviously, all the admins that put the league together. Jamie for running NXTGEN touring cars. Yourself for the beautiful commentary. I love watching it back on a Wednesday. The other admins like Lee, like Mark, like Alan, all of them people that help make NXTGEN what it is. All the people that race, obviously, it's nice to have a big grid. So all the people that race is really helpful. And yeah, just people in my team as well, people in Full Tilt have been so nice to me this season. Obviously, moving to a new team, don't know how it's going to go. They've been so welcoming, so helpful. Like anytime I've needed help, pace, whatever, they'll quite happily hop into a VC with me, chuck up a session, and then we'll see where we can improve. So yeah, it's people like Ben Altria, Ben Gregory, Mark Kent, Will Guthrie, just everyone in Full Tilt has been really helpful.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Lewis, I'm glad that you're feeling very confident and comfortable with your teammates there, and it is definitely showing week in, week out with the results you're putting together. We look forward to seeing whether you can continue the run of form at Sonoma and maintain your AM Championship lead. But until then, we wish you all the best in the rounds ahead, and until then as well, also a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, Paul. You too, mate.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from AM Championship leader Lewis Mason for Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport, who, given the ups and downs today, emerges from this round having extended his championship lead to his main rivals. And it's very interesting why he immediately talked about the fact his priority, race number one straight away, make sure I beat Marcel Fritsch and George Stone. Now, of course, Nigel Stock is a bit more of an outside element, but the general ground that Mason has made today is to gain on his main rivals. He perceives them at the moment. However, of course, Adrian Fritsch scoring big. You never know what that could do to spin the championship a different way. But still, in terms of his own self-reflection, I'm talking about the fact in the end he never gave up and definitely tried to recover from each and every major incident, of which there were a couple. And race number 2 and race number 3 seem involved in some big shunts, particularly at the start of race number 3. But he's already had a chat with Stuart Winnis with regards to what exactly happened, and they've been able to clear the air on it. And well, it's very good. But Mason right now definitely, over the course of the last couple of seasons, I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, he's really maturing as a driver, and you can feel it in the perspective he puts on things. Remember, he's not that old of a driver. We do have some drivers, such as Lee Horn, let's say, and Jamie Dory, who are significantly older compared to some of our younger drivers like Alex Meredith and Lewis Mason. But again, Mason's one of those drivers who, in the end, his youth is belied by his maturity on the road and definitely pushing onwards. And well, I know I'm going to get some stick from Jamie Dory to referring to him as in the same age category as Lee Horn. And well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you one thing, that's not to be meant that way, but you can understand what I mean there, hopefully, in the fact that we do have a whole wide array of our ages on the grid. And well, with that, our youngsters, who we've spoken to today, Alex Meredith and just now Lewis Mason, definitely showing they're just as mature as the adults out there on the grid, giving it a all on a weekly basis. But with that, it's now time for us to wrap up our interviews. And as we can see, in terms of who we've spoken to today, well, we kicked off by speaking to none other than Alex Meredith in the Pro Class for NXTGEN Orange. It's great to hear from him after his hiatus away from the grid due to personal circumstances, but back once again and delivering some great performances, although it did go a little bit wrong in the final race of the day. But to be fair, almost making it a win in race number 2, and it was worth every second of the excitement. Then we came to the AM class, Adrian Fritsch for WS Racing Esports, and in the end, stringing together a brilliant pair of victories in races 2 and 3 in the AM class, his first 2 class wins of his career in the NXTCC, and well, he's feeling confident going into the future rounds. Then we came to Lee Horn, the NXTGEN Orange driver, who said he hasn't been in the interview room because he doesn't feel his results and performances have merited an interview. Although, to be fair, anyone can join for an interview. They don't need to have had the best day in the office to do so. And, well, he was very proud of that final race win of the day. And then we spoke to Lewis Mason. No AM wins today, but 2 podiums and a 5th place, and all about resilience. The Full Tilt Motorsport driver is on his way gradually towards an AM crown, it would seem. So well done to all 4 of our interviews for their great performances today, and thank you to them for their time in the interview room. And we look forward to plenty more interviews in 2 weeks' time at Sonoma. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the NXTGEN racing community, well, definitely there's never been a better time to get on the grid at NXTGEN Racing as we continue to make our way throughout 2026, and whether you're an esports professional or a rookie racer, we'd love to have you on the grid. Well, the best place to go to for all the information you need to know is our official website at www.nextgenracing.co.uk. That website appearing on screen now, and we are the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. We've been hosting series now for the best part of almost 18 years, and well, this website puts it all together in a lovely package. You've got access to all the information you need regarding our leagues, our schedule, our championship tables, and also, of course, a link to our official Discord, the Beating Hearts of the community. Well, there you can find out everything you need from all the staff members, the admins, and fellow racers to make sure you get on the grid as comfortably as humanly possible. Alternatively, if you don't want to go to our website, perhaps you're more of a social media person, we do recommend you go to our official Facebook group, and that's at www.facebook.com/groups/NextGen Racing. Well, there you can find out a little bit more about the guys and girls behind the scenes at NextGen Racing, including what our staff and admin members do, not just on the virtual racing circuit, but also on the real-life circuit, with a good number of them being track marshals, if not racing drivers, or even racing stewards. We'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to our sponsors for this series, who do include PowerMaxed, Next Level Racing, Mark Sachs Designs, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport, Sam Cases UK, Falconer PC Builds and Support, Benji Sim Photos, and of course, lastly but by no means least, our title sponsor for this series, and that is Doble Motorcycles. And if you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles the home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes, and ATVs. And indeed, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. Given the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, you can be certain you will receive excellent customer service from lights out to check a flag at the dealership that has received Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times. And if you'd like to know more, do head to their official website today. That's at doble.co.uk. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we bring our racing to a close for round number 7. And next time out, in round number 8, we complete our American triple header by making our way northwards from Long Beach to Sears Point. And at it, we'll find ourselves at the circuit previously known as Sears Point Raceway or the Infineon Raceway, but now known today as Sonoma Raceway. And on Tuesday, the 5th of May, 2026, well, tempers are definitely tightening, they could be flaring, and there's plenty still to play for, because with the absence of Luciano Witvoet at the very front of the championship, Wojciech Swirydowicz is going to be picking up the slack in the overall championship, but who exactly can potentially put him under threat and try to close the gap down? Meanwhile, in Pro-Am, Matthew Shepperton may have done enough just to stay on top, but Craig Twardock is not too far behind amongst others, and we can expect Sam Exton to need a big bounce back at Sonoma. And as for the AM class, can anybody stop the tidal wave that Lewis Mason is gradually building, or will he bring it crashing down his rivals and even boost his championship lead further in round number 8? With all that and more, tune in next time to find out how the story continues in Season 10 of the NXTCC. But until then, we've been NextGen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.
Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, that's all from us here at NextGen Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all.